onto YouTube and it hasn't worked yet. So hopefully this one's going to actually do it.
Should I wear my mask?
What are the rules on swearing? I tend to be a sailor sometimes.
Well, yeah,
do it.
Go hard.
All right, but at least I'm a teacher. I can dial it back.
Taylor will probably hit a button with curse words before our intro music is done. So
twist it.
There you go.
Yeah, sweet, man. That's awesome.
I'm sorry, when whiskey, is that allowed?
No.
This is how you know. So when you own a brewery and you go visit bars and you say, oh shit, I'm on a podcast in 10 minutes. They say, you need a to-go cup? I said, yes. So I got my Angel's Envy in a plastic cup to go.
Oh, nice.
But I got some Dubco. I brought some Dubco beers as well.
Okay.
Oh, I want to talk about my beer too. I did something special for you guys.
Did you?
It's kind of more of a shout out to my buddy, but I think you guys will appreciate it.
I'm going to ask you guys what you're sipping on when we get the thing started.
Okay.
Taylor, just give me a second. I'm going to finish sharing this out there.
Oh, I need to do the same thing.
Pizza Gang's getting it.
Damn.
We have a good beer podcast local to us, the Brewtastic Voyage. I don't know if they still make. They probably still make podcasts, but they if you ever want like a local Long Island podcast to join up with, the Beertastic Voyage, a group of five or six guys, and they. It's a black hole. Every time I was on that show, it was a black hole.
I think we're going to end up having a good time here.
I mean, when you can drink beer and talk about money, man, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
John's repping the merch, Brad.
Facts. Love it. I don't have merch. I got all I have is Dubco gear. That's it.
That's all right. That's something.
My partner's like, you still wear Dubco? I'm like, well, I'm not gonna buy clothes just because I sold off the brewery. It's still free clothes.
Right? Yeah. I don't know, man. I kind of had like the epiphany the other day that I was like, man, I'm gonna stop buying t-shirts. I mean, for the most part, I wear plain black t-shirts. My wife and I joke that it's like my life uniform. It's like black tees and jeans, and that's it. But I was like, man, I'm just going to start buying shirts off of like YouTubers and shit, people that like are selling their merch. And, there's like a guy who's got like a music page, and I just like really dig all of his covers and stuff that he does. And he's got shirts. I'm like, I'm going to order one of his shirts. Cause I mean, if you're going to buy it, that kind of stuff, the people that are really trying to make a living off of content and stuff like that. I mean, I think that's where it's at.
Yeah, dude. And I'll be honest, like I appreciate it big time too. It does mean a lot to us, because like you said, trying to make a living off here, and you got to do what you got to do. So I appreciate it big time, man.
Yeah, are you guys all local to each other or no?
Yeah.
All right. So after this, I'll put together a gift box. I'll send it down to you.
That'd be awesome.
Sweet. Appreciate it.
I saw that you had on your Instagram a couple of those trendy beers that I'll crush for you, like Equilibrium and Trillium up here. Yeah. We don't even talk about those fucking assholes.
Yeah, it's that good over there, Long Island.
Yeah, I had to leave because I was holding them back. Chris is too good. My partner, shit is bang bang. It's not even right. I had to get out.
I'm excited for that then.
Yeah, like you tell me what you want. Like JJ, he's never had a sour before, and I got him up here, and he had Chris does like this insane wild air. We were one of the first breweries on the Cool Ship, and we have Cool Ship runoffs now for like 6-7 years, and JJ got to drink like a 2-year-old wild ale, and he's like, wait, this is sour beer? I'm like, yep, this is sour beer.
Amazing, right? That's awesome. All right, so if it's all right with you guys, I think what we're going to do here is we're going to hit the record button to record our podcast. Brad, you're going to hear a little intro music. I'm going to do a quick little spiel intro, and then we're just going to kick it.
Go.
Ready?
Do it.
The following is a Just Green production brought to you by the Might Be News Network.
Okay, terrific.
Grab his dick and twist it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Might Be Brews, episode 49, the podcast where we explore the people, places, and brews of the craft beer world. My name is John. With me, as always, Mr. Steve. How you doing?
If you're not watching WandaVision, you're wrong.
We got to talk about that later.
Yes.
The man behind the board, my brother Taylor. How you doing?
What's up, everybody? How you doing?
Yo, and we've got some very special guests. Let me try to run through the list here. We've got podcasters, YouTubers, investors, JJ, and Brad Finn. Thank you guys for joining us. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you guys for having us. We're excited.
Killing it, man. Living the dream, bro. I could not be happier to be a part of this right now.
And both fellow big beer drinkers too.
Huge
so
beer drinkers, yeah. Throw
So,
that on the
taking
list.
a
Pretty
little
good at
bit-
drinking beer. Pretty
That's
good at
right.
drinking
That's
beer.
right.
We're taking a little bit of a departure from what you guys are used to. A lot of the people that are on that watch our show and participate. We have local breweries on. We have beer friends. We have home brewers, stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about how I even hooked up with you guys. I think, like everybody else in the world, there was this this huge, demand or whatever you want to call it, increased energy going on in the investment space. You know, everybody's tweeting and talking about GameStop and AMC and all of this crazy stuff happening. Wall Street bets, right? So I start digging into this, like, what's going on? What is happening? I want to know more. And I guess you guys do a good job with your algorithms and everything, because I think I Googled, like, GameStop or something, and halfway down the Google page was JJ's shirt, live streaming, and he's got a drink beer, buy stock shirt on. So I had to go grab me one of those because I thought the shirt was dope. But yeah, that's how I found you guys, and then got hooked up with Brad too. And I'm really excited to talk about it because, beer's fantastic. We're definitely going to talk plenty about beer. We've got some really cool stuff to try and talk about. But I think that I'm starting to realize that investing and learning about the stock market and things like that is a lot more obtainable than people realize. Some people think you have to be a millionaire to even start or something like that. And it's very obtainable. It's very reachable. And I want to try to get that out to people and just talk about it and learn myself. So I think that's pretty much why we're here. Let me get a couple plugs out of the way quick. You guys make sure you check out the new mbnnetwork.com. It's never been easier to find your new favorite podcast and help us make the show bigger and better than ever before. Go to patreon.com/mbnnetwork. $5 a month gets you free content, free shit, giveaways monthly, things like that. And shout out to the sponsor, Eunomia CBD. That's EUNOMIACBD.com. Use promo code MBN, get 20% off free shipping and a free gift. And I think that's all the pleasantries out of the way. Woo! So let's get into it, guys. So you guys are both YouTubers, podcasters in the investment space, but I think both of you guys really are doing this full time now, or maybe out of your 9-to-5 jobs. I'd like to know what you guys did before doing your shows and your YouTube stuff, and how you got to the point of, going full-time content creator. So I'll start with Brad, if that's all right. Brad,
Yeah, man.
a little background on yourself.
And I will say right off the bat, the best way to talk about money is while drinking beer. So,
So true.
when our JJ and I's podcast really started because we were on the phone talking money and drinking beers, and we're like, shit, we need to press record. So,
Yeah.
I can give you a quick background of what I'm doing, where I'm going, and how that works. So I'm a 9-to-5 high school physics teacher, but don't tell my students or principal that.
Nice.
And I started a YouTube channel just a couple years back, just to as accountability to get out of debt and try and meet some people that wanted to talk about money, because my wife was sick of hearing about it. And I grew and met amazing people in this space and just started learning about money and things like that. And my channel's a little smaller than JJ's. I just passed 50,000 subscribers. Could probably quit teaching, but I love it so much. My background's in engineering. I love it. And I use YouTube. I've always had businesses. And as we'll talk about, I'm sure I founded a brewery here on Long Island that Literally got so good and so big that I was holding it back. So we could talk about that in a little bit, but still like raging on. And if I still tell people, if you're from the Northeast and you haven't had one of my beer, you really don't know beer yet. But I'll flex on Chris in a little bit, my former partner, if we want to talk about Dubco.
Bold statement.
Yeah, very bold. So I have to watch out because full disclaimer, like if I'm talking trash, the words out of Brad Finn's mouth are no longer reflections of Dubco's beliefs and things like that.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I just take every opportunity to educate. My background's in education, and whether it's money, beer, fatherhood, anything, I love learning from people and talking about it. So that's kind of my background, and I'm a very, very simple person. So once again, thank you guys for inviting me on. Yeah,
absolutely, man. Yeah, lots to talk about there. I want to get into the brewery background and things like that. JJ, with you, first off, I will say to you, congratulations, paying off your mortgage. What was that, yesterday or the day before?
Officially was today, actually. The payment went through today. We sent the payment in on Tuesday, but it's officially gone today. So, man, it's it's something else, dude. I'll tell you what, man.
In 3 years?
Yeah, 3 years.
So tell me your background. You were talking a little bit about living in Hawaii and stuff, but tell me about your background and how you made that transition into going full-time content creator.
Yeah, so I went to college as an engineer, graduated as a civil engineer, started a job at a typical, engineering firm, and on the outside looking in, it was the dream job. It really was. But to be honest, on my first week there, I hated it. I spent all this time going through school. The fellow engineers out there probably know how hard it is to get through engineering school. All the time studying, the tests, the labs, everything that goes into it. And I really came to like a point in my life where I'm like, okay, I'm 24. I have, soon to be wife, and, we're going to want to start a family soon. And I'm already not happy because I got to this point where, there's just build up in college, where you go, you like, okay, I'm ready to go out in the real world. I'm ready to make a difference. I'm ready to make a change. And then when you get out there, at least for me, I felt like what I was doing wasn't it didn't feel fulfilling for me at all. I was just going to my job. I'd sit in my cubicle, I'd do my daily task, and I'd leave, and I was done. I didn't feel any fulfillment from that whatsoever. So I literally was like, what do I do? What do I do here? There's something that needs to change. So I started looking online. That's what any typical millennial probably does now. You Google search, like, I was starting to make, also engineering salary, coming from a broke college kid making nothing to, now, hence why I drink Natty Light, and you guys are going to hate me for that. I know that. But coming from a broke college kid to now, an engineer making a decent salary, I'm like, okay, what do I do with this money now? Because I grew up never really talking about money. My parents were like good savers, but we never talked about investing. No one ever said anything about, what to do with your money, how to make your money grow. So once I started looking online, I actually came across Dave Ramsey. He's like the OG for me that kind of got me into my space that I'm in now. And I figured out like paying off debt. And then, this was back in 2014. And then as I was paying off debt, I was also like, dabbling in the stock market, had no idea what I was doing. I was literally just buying companies based on the names and ticker symbols that they had. I literally had no idea what I was doing. And so as I started progressing in my knowledge and space of, finances, I stumbled upon the FIRE movement, which that stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. I came across this movement. I'm like, wow, there's a lifestyle out there where you can do this with your money, sacrifice in the short term, but be able to retire early, at a very young age. And when we say retire, we're not really talking about like sitting on a beach, because to be honest, I did that for a year and I got bored. Now I maybe can explain that a little bit more in depth. But what I mean by retire is just being financially free, meaning I can choose what I want to do. Yeah. I don't have to stay in the 9 to 5 if I don't want to. I can go take a risk and start a new business or whatever it may be. So then how I got started with YouTube is after, years of learning and my, being in and out of investments and trying different things, I always had these new goals. And Brad kind of said this too. I would constantly talk to my wife about, okay, babe, we got to do this. Now we got to do this with our money. We're going to move our savings over here. We're going to pay this off. We're going to do this. And finally, she just got sick of it. She's like, you need an outlet. And I was not really a watcher of YouTube too much, but I would, stumble upon videos every now and then. And finally, one day I came home and I was like, I'm gonna record myself. I'm not a super tech savvy guy. When I pressed the record button on a camera, I had no idea what I was doing, guys. This was a little over 2.5 years ago. And I recorded on how I paid off my student loans in 9 months. And that was my first video on YouTube. And then from there on out, the rest is history. It's just been a trickle effect. And I did go full-time on YouTube back in August of 2020. And I've been doing it ever since. And it's been life-changing, to be honest. It's been crazy. One hell of a ride, that's for sure.
Yeah, I believe it. That's it's just wild to think about that something like that could take off. I mean, I think I saw on your page in particular, JJ, the week that everything was going crazy, some of your videos had and this was a while back, 500,000 views. Like, that's wild numbers.
It was nuts, man. I mean, like, so the stock market's been a pretty heavy conversation piece over the past year. We've had the Roni situation happen last year back in March. We had the huge fallout, market dropped 30-40% in a matter of a couple weeks. I remember being in the hospital. My daughter was being born, and I have CNBC on the TV watching the market go down. I'm like, God forbid my wife's in bed, we just had this baby, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all this content I could be making for YouTube right now. But with the big drop in the stock market,
yep,
we saw a huge influx of new investors come in because it was like the time to get in, everything was on sale. So we saw a big increase in the stock space, kind of leveled off towards the end of the year. And then January hit, and then bam, now this GameStop, AMC stuff, all this stuff started happening. And I feel like this even got more attention than what happened back in the Rona, back in COVID happened in March. So it's been crazy, man. The views, I'll say this, I've been doing this for a while, but the amount of pop I've seen in the past, I would even just say like the past month, has been absolutely insane. It's been crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I mean, that's honestly how I found you guys, and it's just been crazy how much just watching all this stuff and learning about it, and reading all the ridiculous things on Wall Street Bets.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just
It's crazy.
I don't know.
Crazy.
Yeah, there's so much stuff out there that I had no idea about. I want to get into. I want to talk about what exactly happened with Wall Street Bets, with GameStop, Elon Musk, things like that. But first, I think we need to go around the table or around the room here and talk about what we're drinking. JJ, I'll start with you. You said you had something that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So first, I know I'm on a beer. I'm a drink beer buy stocks guy, and I'm on a beer podcast right now. I'm going to ruin myself, to be honest. I got to be honest with you guys. I am a newly craft beer drinker. My whole life growing up, I drank, back in high school, I started drinking Natty Light, and I just stuck with it. Yeah. I still drink it to this day. I mean, I'll get hate on it all day, but I love the damn thing. But I will say this, with me starting the whole, I cracked open a beer on a video one day, and just people loved it. And it that's how the whole drink beer buy stocks thing happened. And as I started doing that, more people started telling me, you need to try different beers. Try this, try that. And as I did that, I'm like, wow, I have been missing out on some stuff my whole life. Now, so I'm very, very new to the craft beer space. I don't really know too much about verbiage and what stuff means. But the beer I'm drinking today, and I wanted to go with something local. I'm from St. Louis, Anheuser-Busch, but I went a different route. So I actually have a buddy of mine, Brad. He's probably where you were at with Dubco back when you were in your garage, however many years ago that was. His name's Josh Shepard. You guys can follow him on Instagram, Josh Shepard 33. He has a brewery that he's been starting up for a while now in his garage. And I texted him because I knew I was coming on here. And I said, hey, man, give me some beers. I want to drink. I want to show a local brewery some love. Yeah. He's a new startup guy. He's working his tail off. He's hustling. And I am drinking. He gave me a couple different ones to try. But right now I'm drinking a double IPA. And it says it's a New England style. I'm not quite sure what that means. But it's really good. I mean, it really is. I do. I like it a lot. I'll tell you this. My favorite craft beers to go to right now are hazy IPAs. Yeah. I don't know if that's good or bad. But that's what I really have been liking lately from all the different stuff I try. Sours are pretty good too. I like sours as well.
So my brother Taylor,
Karen.
Taylor's been really getting into sours lately as well.
I like sours.
Oh yeah, baby.
They're really
Glad,
good.
I'm sure you could fill him in on the haze IPA craze. But that's good, man. The New England IPA, hazy IPA, that's awesome. Glad you like it. I mean, I don't know. Brad can fill you in on all that, but lower IBUs, lots of citrus.
Yeah, you can do so much with the New England, and I mean, it's one of those things when you own a brewery or when you make beer, you have beer that you like to drink, you have beer that you like to make, and you have beer that everybody else likes to drink and you hate. I'll give a good example. Making a pumpkin beer is the worst beer ever to make. Whether it's a 1 gallon batch, whether it's a 5 gallon batch, we have a 10-barrel brew house, or I say we. Whenever I'm saying we, I'm no longer part of the brewery, but the brewery I used to own, we have a 10-barrel, we have 6 10 barrels and 5 20s, and to this day, pumpkin beer, like it's the, but you have to make it. Our pumpkin beer is called mandatory pumpkin because you have to make a pumpkin beer. But we got to the point where New England's became the same. Like they're delicious and they're great. And I brought one to drink, but I think if you asked 1,000 cellarmen across the country and you asked 1,000 brewers across the nation, they're drinking lagers all day, every day. That was one of the greatest. When I went to Austin, Texas, the greatest thing about going to Austin, Texas was the beer scene was not IPAs. It was all lagers and pilsners. And I was able to bar hop inside Austin and go to 10 different breweries and not be whacked. Not because the fact of the matter is, like, when the pint craze came about and 16-ounce cans came about and 10%, and we did it. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're on the canning line at 8 o'clock in the morning, drinking quote dented cans and crooked labels. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, and then we started making lagers just for the brewers, and we called it the brewers beer. And we were like, wait, I can't drink an IPA. We're like, here, have this, and that's how the lager scene. But I mean, sours are one of the most beautiful artistic beers that you can make. And I think if we relate it to personal finance, it's the ultimate delayed gratification. When we were cool shipping a 3-barrel batch, and just making a beer and knowing that you were not going to know the outcome for probably 3 years. And we started cool shipping when we were 4 years into the brewery. So we're literally like making beer that we didn't know if we were going to be able to drink that beer till the brewery was twice as old. But now the brewery is going to be 7 years old in May, 8 years old in May. And now we're doing amazing things with these sours. And my partner, Chris, who is still the head brewer over there, and I will argue that there's very, very few people in the nation that make quality beer like he does. He's a craftsman. He's a Cicerone. He's like, he does not mess around. But he can do it. I think the one great thing that Chris is doing at Dubco is his ability to make every style of beer to its highest potential, whether it's sours. And we've been Wild Ale fans. I mean, when you call the local welder and you have to explain to him what a cool ship is so that he can make it for you, and then he drops you off like a trough, and we're like, okay, we'll figure out how to make this trough happen. We were all about wild ales. And I mean, that's being up here in New England. Allagash is pretty north of me, but when we look at Allagash and another great brewery upstate New York, Common Roots, who's doing just incredible cool ship wild ale beers, that was really, and like I said, that delayed gratification, just tasting a beer. And I know JJ, when I gave him the LiDAR that we made, and I'll send you guys one of them as well. Just, I don't think it's hard to really fathom that beer is 4 years old, that from the time we brewed it to the time it sat wild, to the time it sat in barrels, to the time it sat in bottles. Like, you don't fathom that a beer could be 4 years old and just be bang, bang. But yeah, I'll send you a LiDAR. Taylor, if you're into sours, I'll send you a LiDAR and you can give me your honest feedback, because I don't work there anymore. So you can tell me it's shit if you want.
That's awesome. That's great. It's great that you guys are doing those cool ships, because everybody seems to be doing the quick kettle sours, which are okay, but they don't have the depth of flavor. They don't have that passion that the cool ship stuff can have.
I can give you my honest opinion with kettle souring, because we got a lot of flack for doing it early on. Like, you're cheating, you're doing this and that. Just like anything in the brewery world, kettle souring, it has its purpose. It has a very, very, and it has a great purpose. And there's a very big difference between home brewing and commercial brewing. When you have to have a product and you have timelines and you have things like that, kettle souring is great. If you're going to be masking it with flavor, and it's kind of like how you can make a shitty mixed drink with a cheap vodka, because it doesn't really matter, because you're going to mask it with a bunch of other things. You just need the vodka. When you kettle sour and you know you're going to put it in a barrel and you're going to put it on fruit and you're going to age it in certain ways and you're going to add lacto and Brett later, you can get that foundation of a kettle sour. And I don't think that makes you any less of a brewer. I mean, some of the best beers that we ever made that were sour were kettle soured. And if we didn't tell anybody, they would be like, great. It's only until you tell people, and then the beer snobs of the world, the Brooklyn fam, they want to come around and say, oh, now that we know it's a kettle sour, now it's a shitty beer. But there's something to be said for both. I think having just a raw kettle sour beer, it's hard to make right, and it's kind of a little artificial, but like it still serves its purpose, especially in the commercial brewing space. But cool ships the way to go. Like,
right.
if you don't have cool temperatures, and that's the other thing, like some breweries can't do it. You know, you have to have the right temperatures. And up here in New England, we have like certain spots of the year, and we watched the weather, and it was one of those things you couldn't plan. You had all of the right beers, you had all the materials there, you had all of your aged hops there, your 2-year-old hops, and you were like, hey, as soon as we get 2 days in a row between 30 and 40 degrees, we got to go. And whether it's 3 a.m, 4 a.m, 10 p.m, we got to go. We got to go. And that was some of the beauty of it too. Like, put your wives to bed. Sorry, sweetheart, we own a brewery and we got a cool ship right fucking now.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's like a double-edged sword with the hazy IPAs, because I think it's helped bring a lot more people into craft beer. So I think breweries are able to be more successful, maybe a bit easier.
Yeah,
more
no,
easily.
definitely.
There's just this huge influx of new.
Yeah, it's created good. And like I said, from a business standpoint, it brings on a whole new business. Like, you think about all the steps and all the people necessary to make a great beer, from the brewers all the way down to the hop farmers. And if there's one thing that New England IPAs did, is create these amazing hops and create, hop pellets and hop powders and all these things. So from a commercial standpoint, I love New England IPAs mostly because of the amount of business that they brought to the beer industry. They definitely brought in a bunch of new people, but I think if we look at from an economy standpoint, one of the best parts about having the brewery was knowing how many people we put to bed every night, and they didn't have to worry about, paying their bills, and they didn't have to worry about anything. And when we had great upstate hop farmers and the New York initiatives really brought on these farmers, and we were able to buy whole flower hops, and people that had been growing corn their whole life or were dairy farmers that were now growing hops. I think that was the best part, because anybody can get corn and make a lager. We can get rice and make a lager. It's not that, it's not that big of a deal, but I think the best hidden secret behind the whole New England IPA craze was the amount of jobs and the amount of businesses that it opened up for economies. And it allowed people and it allowed some farmers that maybe, were having problems with their old cash crops. Up here in New England and New York State, we have hops that are just exploding. It's not just about Mount Hood anymore, and it's not just about Boise, Idaho. We're creating hops all over the country, which is all, a direct relation to the New England IPA craze.
Yeah, it's good for everybody. I missed part of that. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I had to switch Wi-Fi networks.
How many Wi-Fi networks do you have?
Yeah, no doubt, man.
How do I get myself on the dual Wi-Fi?
John's on a whole nother level than we are, boys.
I got a simple one Wi-Fi system over here.
Yeah, I don't know. Network.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a big secret.
I can't talk about that right now.
But to bring JJ into this, it's so fun to like be beer nerds and stuff. And JJ and I, when we started talking about beer and he started getting into it, and like he said, he's kind of new to the craft beer scene. I think, and I'm not speaking for JJ, you can chime in here, but where he is in rural Missouri, there aren't these amazing craft breweries popping up. And it wasn't like JJ was avoiding craft beer. Like when he walked into the brewery, he was like, oh my God, what? Like, this is a real place?
No, it's for real, man. I mean, like, yeah, like, so like I live in a town of like 500 people. So like there's nothing really around here. Like there's breweries around to be like, but you got to drive quite a bit of distance. There is a restaurant I go to, but I think they brew their beer somewhere else. Like where I went with Brad's, like the actual brewery, like where you go to sip, like there's nothing like that really close to me. I mean, if I go up to St. Louis, there's stuff like that, but I'm not up in the city that much to be honest. So I am new. I'm excited though, because I'm excited to learn. I'm always excited to learn something new and try different stuff and find something that I really like. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Taylor's new. I keep pointing the wrong way, but my brother. I mean, he's kind of a new beer guy. We've been doing the show for a couple years now, so he's had all kinds of crazy, tree houses, and
I've had so much stuff that I don't even remember what it was. And
same.
And
I gotta ask, as a brewery owner, do you guys use Untapped?
they used to. I don't know if they still do or not.
I used to use it for my own personal log.
Right.
I stopped when we started doing the podcast because it was like we're trying to podcast. I'm trying to check in, and I'm like, just forget about it.
I remember
the whole starting of the rating thing. It was like cool, but then we're like, let's just drink. Let's not worry about it.
I got to feel like I was on there so early. I mean, we started the brewery in 2015, but we were drinking craft beer. We were brewing beer in our basement for like 6 years before that. But I remember we had like rules like 10-ounce pours only and this, that, and the other thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it became like a competition. And then but then you become a brewer and you're like, fuck you, asshole.
Yeah, right.
like somebody would be like, hate stouts. One
and a half caps.
I'm like, bitch, that's an amazing stout. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's a bad beer.
I like it's really good for a lager, 3.25. Like, so a lager can be a 5. It's okay to have a 5 lager.
The crazy thing is, you think that like nobody matters, but we still distribute to Tavor. I don't know if you know what Tavor is, but we distribute to them. And when we first started with Tavor, they would not take a beer that was rated under 4. I mean, granted, we've created a relationship with them, and now they know, and they're going to be distributing a beer for JJ and I pretty soon when we do a collab with Dubco. But they and even beer distributors, when we were going out trying to pitch our beer initially, and it was 2 guys walking in, and we're driving around in my pickup truck, we'd be like, hey, we got this beer. And they'd be like, hold on. And you'd see them like turn around, like go on Untapped and look at it. So I'm just curious because I've been out of that so long. Now I just drink beer. But Steve, I understand exactly what you're saying, because there was so many, like we'd go to a craft beer bar and then we drink 10 great beers and 5 bad ones. And we'd wake up the next morning and be like, what the fuck what was that beer that we drank last night? Go, JJ.
I got to ask this real quick. So Taylor, what did you drink before coming on to the craft beer scene?
Bud Light Lime all day.
Hey! There we go, baby.
In the can? Do you like it in the can? I love it in the can.
The can, the bottle,
yes.
Whatever I could find. That's still to this day one of my favorite beers.
So me and Taylor are tight this whole podcast episode.
I was going to say, man, I can relate to you. As the listeners of the show know, these guys have taken me on a amazing journey with beer, and I've really gotten into it. I was in the beer distributor today. Shout out to Katie down at the Thorndale Beverage. She helped me out finding some stuff. I mean, I still don't know what I'm looking for.
Right.
I go in there and use keywords like, I'm in the mood for a stout today. I want to try a stout today, or I want to get another sour for my wife and I, and blah blah blah. So like I'm still like a kid in a toy shop when I go into one of these places. I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking for. Just point me in a direction. That label looks cool. And boom. And we used to rate beers on this show. You're talking about, people not liking beers and giving it a terrible rating. Here I am, this new guy who can't understand any of this crap. I have a legendary beer like a King Sue, and I'm on this show being like, this tastes like cat piss. You know what I mean? So that was kind of the element of it, of not knowing anything about it. So
I'll tell you this, though. It was much better to get knocked with a comment. Like the worst was like somebody would leave you a 1 star and no comment. Like, at least tell me how I fucked this up. Like, at least tell me why, because we love feedback. We loved it, and that was the worst too. Like not giving, but then again, you'd read it like, I hate sours. Like, why did you buy the beer? It says wild ale. Like, why did you fucking buy the beer if you don't like wild ale, and then give it a 1-star rating?
Yeah,
See, I am not a big fan of smoked beers, and I'm not a big fan of coconut beers. So whenever I would try one, I would check it in, but I would not rate it.
I make a beer. Well, I don't make it anymore. Chris makes a beer called The Science of Selling Pina Coladas. Steve, I will fucking change your mind.
You can try.
Challenge accepted.
If you have Untapped on your phone, look up right now The Science of Selling Pina Coladas. Bang bang bang.
It's kind of stupid, but I was in Untapped all the time, and I was at a brewery. I used to, before COVID, traveled a lot for work, so I got to go to all these awesome towns and cities around the country, and I would go find local brew pubs and bottle shops, tap rooms, whatever I can. And I was sitting there with my face in my phone, looking up the beer, typing something in, and I just looked up around me and music was playing and people were having a good time, and I'm like, why am I spending so much effing time on my phone and just enjoy myself and the beer and the atmosphere and the experience of it instead of playing with my phone? So I kind of just gave up on it and stopped checking things in. And sometimes I wish I didn't, because I'd be curious what my numbers are as far as beers and stuff like that, but I don't know, man. I'm over it. Personally, I get it, and I don't knock anybody that does it, because I'm glad Brett every once in a while checks in for me or gives me a little or tags me in a post when we crack something together.
It's what I tell my students when they're always on fucking Instagram at concerts. Like, I'm like, guys, live life, don't document it. Sometimes you need to go to a brewery. Sometimes you need to go to a craft beer bar. Sometimes you need to walk into a beer distributor. And you have to be willing. One thing I'd say, you got to be willing to try bad beers too. There's nothing wrong with trying bad beers, because there's some bad ones out there. But some of the best beers I ever had were going outside my comfort zone and just being like, or asking the bartender, like, what do you drink? And bartenders hate that. They hate like bartender's choice. I used to give people the keg we were trying to get rid of when they asked me that. But like, there's something to be said for like, and that's what I liked when JJ came, because I knew he had never tried a wild ale beer before. But I knew that if I handed it to him, he was going to give it a shot.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I'll try anything.
that these guys have put in front of me, and I'm glad that I have, because I've had stuff that I didn't like, but like, I'm not a double IPA guy. I'm not an IPA guy, really. But if I didn't try it, I would have never discovered Dinner from Maine Brewing. There's so many other ones that I can't think of the name of right now, but like, yeah, I've had quite a few really, really, really good beers. I've also had some very terrible ones that John really likes. So
have you ever had Bell's Two Hearted before?
Probably, John.
That was like when I had dinner, like that was like a great shock to me, just like Bell's Two Hearted was. And when Bell's finally made it to New York, and I remember a couple of craft beer bars finally got Bell's because they finally distributed to us. That was like a magical night. I must have had 20 of those that night. What are you drinking, John?
So the three of us are drinking the same beer. Brad, if you're like a real beer guy, I would love. I got to send you some of these guys' beers.
Oh, we'll trade. Yeah, we'll send.
At East Branch. I mean, they're like a old school type brewer. Like everything's traditional German styles for the most part. This one is a dry hopped rye pale ale, which
a little spicy. That rye will get you spicy.
It's got a little spice to it. I think the balance on it is just perfect. Like there's a little bit of rye, there's a little bit of spice. You can still get some hop notes into it. It's an easy drinker. I think it's really got a great balance to it.
Steve, we used to love using rye. We used to love using rye to knock down the bitterness. Like if a beer was a little too malty, we'd throw in some rye. It would knock that down and level out the sweetness of that malt, but you could still raise the ABV up. Like rye malt is like a little hidden gem. If you have a huge ABV beer, and you have a ton of malt in there. We had a beer called Sore Thumb, and we worked on that beer for years, and it was a big West Coast. So really, really not a lot of hops. It was people would call it a malt bomb, especially people that were looking for a New England. We started trickling in some rye there, balances out really, really nice.
By the way,
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Steve. I was just going to say John's on his 6th Wi-Fi connection right now.
There he is.
The Bat Cave.
His kid's in the back fucking with him. He has kids. God, kid, with your Wi-Fi.
Mr. Steve, would you say this is an instant classic, dude?
It's pretty darn close. It's pretty close.
I am usually all over Gov's you know what, but I'm not feeling this for some reason tonight. I don't know if it's my palate. Maybe I got early onset COVID.
It's your Wi-Fi connection, John.
Yeah.
What it is, it's your Wi-Fi. You lost your goddamn mind.
It's drinking a little light, a little
It's a
little
pale
creamy.
ale.
I do like the spice. It's a pale ale. You know, it is what it is. But
It's delicious. It's really good. I like it. It's
Wi-Fi.
not too bitter. It's really. I always say fucking clean. It's like the first thing that comes to mind. I'm sorry, everybody. It's fucking clean. It tastes clean. It feels good when I drink it. It's delicious.
It's better than just it tastes good. That's what I always go to. I was like, oh, this tastes pretty good.
Yeah, Brad, I think I want to.
JJ would be like, basically,
yeah, basically,
I love this beer.
There's
Brad,
nothing
I
wrong
want to
with
get you
that.
back on. I want to talk to. I don't know how we're going to do it exactly, but I'd like to have a couple Cicerones on the show. And
Cicerone.
I have that. What do you want to talk about?
well, no, just I think we should drink the same beer on the show, and you tell us, you know, a well-trained palate what we're tasting, because
Can I tell you about the Cicerone? Can I tell you about the Cicerone test?
1,000 beers. What's
Can
that?
I tell you about this? Can I tell you about the Cicerone test?
Yeah, good.
So the Cicerone test. So they have different levels, right? So you could take they have a beer server, and then they have like the level 3. So Chris and I, we're not really like. We're two different learners. So when we had the brewery, we were two different type. I'm like educational, like I'm book study. Like I can do flashcards and learn stuff.
Yeah.
Chris was like run of the mill. And we were very, very lucky that we have one of the highest level Cicerones that lived in the area. And Chris and I were getting ready to go take this test. And at the brewery, we used to have off-flavor tasting events through the Cicerone program. And we'd show people different things, and it was great. So Chris and I are getting ready to go take our Cicerone live, and we have this guy come in. He gives us the taste test. So there's like a written part, and then there's a tasting part. He comes in. He's like, I'm going to give you, you know, a very gentle taste. You know, I won't show you what to expect. And Chris and I had been practicing, kind of. We bombed it that night before. So like we went into the day like we're going to ace this. And after he left, I was like, I don't even know what fucking beer tastes like. I can't identify any off flavors whatsoever. And it was just so happened. So we took the test, and while we're taking the written test, there was 8 people in the room that took it. We took it in Brooklyn, and they were pouring out the beers for the tasting in the front of the bar. We took it in like a local bar, sitting right in the sun. And if you're studying, like, you know, like, oh, light struck, that's so bad. And I said to Chris, I like whispered over, I'm like, that's definitely Killian's. And as an Irish guy, I've been drinking Killian's in the backwoods, warm, cold, light struck. I've been drinking Killian's my whole life. I knew what was a good Killian's. And I see them dropping into the Killian's. I'm like, this is so badass. So it sits there. It comes into the back. Long story short, I bombed the taste test, but I aced the written test. Chris bombed the written test, but aced the drinking test. I'm like, together, this is the partner. This is why you got to go with partners.
Perfect business partners.
You got to go in. But later on, Chris did pass the writing but I'll tell you this, I have no problem admitting it, especially now. So Dusseldorf, Germany is where a very, very popular beer style is made. And like one of the part 2s is like, you know, where is this made? And I was like, it was just a disaster. If you're going to take the Cicerone test, know that you're probably going to fail. And it's not a pushover. Like we knew our shit and we both failed the first time. Chris passed. He's a level 3 Cicerone, maybe, I think.
Yeah.
maybe level 4. But off flavor tasting is super important, and you can buy and I ramble on about the story because you guys can buy the off flavor tasting kits and do them with your local beers, and they come in like little droplets where you can drop a little bit and you can learn these different off flavors. And you could. The worst part about it though is we'd go to our local local bars and we'd be like, they don't clean their lines. They definitely don't clean, or they store their kegs warm like that. It was kind of like when you know too much.
Oh, wow.
So it was one of those things where like you definitely want to know what's going on, but when you know too much, it's almost worse. Like when you're like, you know, when you go to the stadium and all the beer tastes like popcorn, it's all buttery, you know, and then you're like, all right, this is just bad beer. But then when you know what's really in it, you're like, I never drink draft beer anymore anywhere because like you know too much.
I think it's for sure. Like heard people talk about how it's, you know, the studying is and how much they take it seriously. So, you know, I for as many beers as I've had, I probably describe them exactly like JJ. Like, this is a little sweet, or I get, you know, this one tastes a little like orange juice, and that's about my vocabulary. I think that would just be exciting. I would love to do the best way to do it. Brewers, yeah, I would just like to do these brewers justice when I'm sipping on a beer and say like, you know, oh, I'm getting this and blah blah blah. So I don't know, Mr. Steve, what do you have? Are you double nugget net or
No? What do you? No, I'm still finishing up the first one. I think we should do the Evan Stout next.
I wholeheartedly
let's do that before we go double nug.
I want it.
JJ, what else? JJ, what else you got? JJ, what do you?
I'm drinking a pastry ale. It's aged on mixed berries and vanilla.
Ooh. Whose berries?
Mixed berries.
Oh, I thought you said Mike's berries. I was like,
I thought he said Nick's berries.
Nick's berries. That's disgusting.
Oh, John vanished on us.
I still got a high life. I'm gonna finish this champagne and beer. I did. The Brewers. Yeah, the Brewers drink lagers, man.
High Life is a classic. That's an instant classic. I think we had Mr. Steve. Didn't we have High Life on the show once before?
We had High Life at some point.
It was like one of the things where we were doing like all the different.
We were doing the GABF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It's like perfect beer.
GABF is. Have you guys been to GABF? It's one of those things where it sounds like a great idea until you get off the plane.
And it sucks the whole time.
JJ, the Great American Beer Festival it's like when you're 35, 40 years old and you go to an EDM concert and you think it's going to be a good time, and then you realize you're that old dude at a high school party. Like GABF, I couldn't hang. I thought I was a drinker. And then you go to all these breweries and it's all these tours, and I couldn't hang. I couldn't hang.
Not saying something because I've seen Brad drinking. You drink a lot, dude.
AJ, let's get you back in the mix here because I want to get into investing a bit. I have a lot of questions. I think the first thing, if we can do it in a condensed version, maybe, is tell us what happened with Wall Street Bets, GME, AMC, BlackBerry, Nokia, all the crazy shit that was going on that week. Doge.
How many hours do you have, John? How many hours do you have?
I just want to piggyback on that. Should I have bought all those Radio Shacks stocks? was that what I was supposed to get?
Yeah, and Blockbuster.
I got the Blockbuster last week.
Yeah.
Before JJ goes, I will say this, and this is what I tell my brother: if you don't follow it every day, by the time you hear about it, it's too late.
Yeah. It's so, man. Where do I even start? So first, let me say this: shorting a stock. I want to explain what shorting a stock means before I get into this lingo, and I really do want to keep it layman's terms. And guys, like, to be honest, like, I'm no expert in the stock market, so I'm relaying the information here how I know it.
We've been hitting you with weird beer shit, and that you have no idea what we're talking about. So feel free.
True.
JJ's like, what's he talking about?
No, I mean, so what happened in a real quick, long story short, is that so GameStop was being shorted by hedge funds, big institutions, and whenever you short a stock, real simple, what it means is when you go to buy a stock, you buy a stock through a broker. You have to go through a broker to buy a stock. Maybe that's like, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade, whatever. So these hedge funds are using a broker, and when they short a stock, they borrow shares from a broker. So, for example, let's say they're going to borrow shares. The current share price is $10, right? And then what they want to happen is they want that stock price to go down in value. So when that stock price goes down in value, so let's say the stock price dropped to $5, they take those shares that they borrowed from that broker, they give them back. They give them back to the broker themselves, and then they recoup the difference. So they make $5 if they bought if they borrowed one share, sell it to the market at $10, and then they're borrowing it, and then they sell it back to the market. It goes down in value by $5. They give it back to the broker. They reap the difference in between that. So it's a $5 profit they make.
Pretty much betting against the company.
Absolutely.
And GameStop makes sense, right? I mean, everything's gone digital. You don't have to buy discs as often anymore. I mean, it's like Blockbuster. You see the dinosaur. The time's coming.
So here's the thing. Yeah, shorting happens all the time. And right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with shorting, but here's what the problem is. So these companies, right, what they were doing is they were over shorting GameStop. So let's say 100% of GameStop shares are available, and these institutions, these big hedge funds were shorting over 100% of the shares. So they were shorting more shares than were even available. So when Wall Street Bets found that out, they saw, oh, what's going on here? Something's, and I will say this, the hedge funds know exactly what they were getting into. They knew the risk they were taking, and let's be honest, these guys do this for a living. They've been trained. They've gone to college for it. They know the risk that they were taking on when they did this. So the fact that GameStop was overshorted by, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, let's say 150%. Well, what happens is whenever stock prices start to go up that you're trying to short, you have an infinite amount of loss that can happen because you're buying these stocks, you're borrowing these stocks on margin. And what margin means is you're basically it's like taking out a loan to buy stocks or to short stocks is what it means. Like when you go take out a loan to buy a car, when you're buying on margin, you're taking out a loan to trade stocks. So what happens is when the stock price goes up, these hedge funds start to lose money because the price is going up. They have to give it back to the broker at a larger price, and they have to pay the difference. So the bad part about that is as the stock price started getting higher and higher and higher and higher, that's more money that these hedge funds were losing on a daily basis. And all this was on margin. So they literally could have gotten an infinite amount of loss. That's the scary part about that. And this is millions, billions of dollars we're talking about here. So then what happened was, and Brad, you might have to step in a little bit here because I know you watched that video. There's a couple of videos about the clearing systems. I missed all that. But back whenever my live streams were going on, what happened was Robinhood stopped buying stock. So no one else could come into the broker of Robinhood, of Webull, other real popular apps of the Wall Street Bets users were using. No one could buy the stock anymore. So what happens is, go back to simple like supply and demand, right? When there is a high demand for something, the price is going to go up. When there's a low supply demand for something, your price is going to go down. There's a higher supply of it, right? So when no one can buy the stock, people are going to sell off because they're like, oh, well, I can't buy anymore. So there's no one else to
go higher. Yeah,
absolutely. So then the stock price falls down. And here's the shitty part about this. I had a couple options trades open, and I was up over a little over 10 grand in one day.
Have you guys ever heard of greed before? Have you ever heard of greed? Here it comes.
Don't even get me started, Brad.
Here it comes. You guys ever hear about greed?
Gordon Gekko coming in.
No, listen though. Pre-market on Thursday morning, AMC, GameStop, Nokia, BlackBerry, the major four were all way up pre-market, and they were going to keep going higher. Why do you think all the brokerages stopped buying on it? So my plan was as the prices went higher on Thursday, I was going to get out, and I probably would honestly. I bet I could have doubled my more on top of my 10 grand in profits. I probably could have pulled out at 20K.
Your boy told you to sell.
I don't even want to hear it. So the unthinkable happens, right? Robinhood shuts us out. All buyers can no longer buy any stocks, right? So I'm sitting here like, what in the hell I'm live streaming as it's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no one can buy anything. No one can buy. No one can get in. And of course, what happens when no one can buy? The demand's not there, so the supply is higher, so the price is gonna go down. Now, as stuff's been coming out, there has been a little bit more of an understanding, just like anything is. As time goes on, people start hearing more. So that what at first we were hearing is the clearinghouses were telling Robinhood, Webull, and these other apps to stop trading because there's a process behind this that's pretty advanced, and you can go ahead, Brad, take it over from here.
So I'll put it in pretty layman's terms what happened exactly and why Robinhood was the scapegoat in all of this. If you've seen Ocean's 11, right? They were gonna rob the casino on fight night because the casinos need to have a certain amount of money to back all the chips in their casino.
Yep.
And on a fight night, they doubled those chips. Okay. So JJ mentioned what a clearinghouse is. So when you are a buyer and a seller, there's somebody in between you called the exchange. That was Robinhood. But now Robinhood can't ensure that the buyer is not going to default. So they bring in something called a clearinghouse. Now the clearinghouse says, okay, you have X amount. To cover that, we need some insurance that we're going to call margin on all of those buys. Now, for a general trading, that's like 10%. So if there's $1,000 done, they're like, all right, you need to deposit $100 into our clearinghouse to cover those buyers in case they default. What happened with Robinhood and GameStop was a majority of these beginner traders were trading on Robinhood. They weren't trading on, nobody was buying GameStop on Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab. It didn't happen because this was happening in a community of millennials and a community that was trading on Robinhood. So essentially, when the volatility of this stock, that's what drives that margin rate that the clearinghouses were charging Robinhood. When the volatility went fucking crazy, it went from, all right, we need 10% deposits to 100% deposits.
Yeah.
And Robinhood just flat out didn't have the money.
They don't have the money in their bank account.
Yeah.
They don't have it.
For all that.
So the clearinghouse was no longer able to ensure to the seller that the buyer was going to be able to back that transaction. So the clearinghouse shut Robinhood down. Now, what that looked like on paper, obviously, and I was one of those people, was that Robinhood was colluding with all of the other hedge funds. Like, why would Robinhood be doing this? And it wasn't Webull and it wasn't all the others. The fact of the matter was there wasn't as much volume.
Well,
so
hang on.
The clearinghouses weren't worried about Fidelity. The clearinghouse. I'm playing devil's advocate. The clearinghouses weren't worried about the big brokerages because that's not where the volume was. But when Robinhood said, I can't make those deposits, the clearinghouse said, I'm not going to be able to fulfill those transactions. You need to stop. And they weren't worried about the seller, which is why you were able to continue to sell off, but you could not buy, frankly, because Robinhood did not have the money to back that up. Is it effed up? Yeah. Should they have had their ducks in a row?
Yes.
Absolutely. But the whole conspiracy that they were colluding with hedge funds, it's a bullshit. It's a bullshit statement.
Well, hang on. Let me no.
To quote my cousin Vinny, it's a bullshit excuse.
So let me tell you why, real quick. Let me tell you why this why people thought this. So these clearinghouses, right, are mostly backed by hedge funds, and one of the major hedge funds that was backed by one of these clearinghouses is Melvin Capital and Centradel. And what happens is, that Melvin Capital is one of the largest hedge funds that was shorting GameStop.
Speaking truth.
So you look at that and you're like, okay, wow.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Shitty.
They want you to stop because they want they're backing their hedge fund that backs them to, minimize their losses, give them a day to figure out what they're going to do because the stock is flying to the moon. And you see like short squeeze happenings and stuff too, which is like people who are trying to short the stock as the price goes up, they have to buy it back, which in return, they're usually using millions of dollars, sometimes, just a lot of money. And then when that floods into the market on that single stock, that's why that stock price shoots up, because there's a lot more money going into the market, which is in return decreasing the supply available. So when you short squeeze and you have to buy back to cover your losses, that's why that price keeps going higher and higher and higher.
It was a matter of unfortunate events. Like when you're dating a new girl and your ex-girlfriend walks into the party and you know she was going to show up and you're like, shit, and then everyone thinks you're an asshole. That's what happened to Robinhood.
So what do you think would have happened if Robinhood never shut down. Where
If they had the billions and billions and billions of dollars to back that up,
we would have made a lot of money.
We would have made a lot
literally
more money.
gone to the moon.
We would have made a lot more money. And like I said, a full disclosure, I lost too. I didn't lose as much as JJ did. And we had a group on our podcast called the 129ers on January 29th, which was the Friday after that when a lot of our options expired. Yeah, I got screwed out of a bunch of money, and there's a lot of what ifs. And like I said, the boomer in me plays devil's advocate. On Wednesday, when we were all up, we could have pressed the sell button, but we assumed, and that's the reason why we're angry. We assumed that on Thursday, with all of our things in line, especially like JJ and I both being engineers, we looked at statistics. We're like, it can't stop that much. It might go down, but our returns are going to go from 10 grand to 9 grand. But they did things that were out of our control, which made our 10 grand go to 0 in an instant.
Yeah.
So it made us angry. But like in the aftermath, we understand what they did, but it was still fucked up. Like you still need to have your ducks in a row. And like, this is the Average Money Podcast. If you ever, this is what JJ did.
I want to say something real quick though. That Brad said it. Brad mentioned if Robinhood would have had millions, we would have made a killing. But if Robinhood wouldn't have done anything, Robinhood would have went bankrupt and there would be no more Robinhood.
Right. And
everybody would have gone with the stock and then sold in Robinhood.
And there'd be no more Robinhood. And like I said, and people want to be mad at Robinhood. I'm mad at Robinhood. But like if you put emotions aside, like you kind of understand, like I didn't leave Robinhood. I mean, JJ and I have both done videos and we've both talked about how we don't have our primary brokerages in an app. And I think if you're a normal human being with a sense of knowledge, you'd understand why we don't want to put a lot of money into an app. But their user face and their interface is still glorious. It's still easy to use. Really it's great for beginners. It's great for using on YouTube to show people. And like I said, it's more what they did was effed up. They didn't do anything illegal. We signed the terms and conditions. We knew what they could do. Like I said, it's more of what they did was effed up more than illegal. And it stings us because we're like, shit, we could have made a lot. We want to point the finger. I mean, that's our culture of today's society. We want to go around pointing fingers at everybody else. It's never our own fault. It's like there's no self-accountability anymore. But it sucks, man, what they did because it is true. Regardless of how much I want to defend, I'm just playing devil's advocate. If they wouldn't have suspended trading, the situation would have been exponentially different, and it would have been exponentially different in the favor of a lot of people.
And I would have made more money.
not the people that found out about it Monday. JJ and I were talking about this weeks before. Like if you were in Wall Street Bets and you were following this, like Deep fucking Value, he has been talking about GameStop since July. The dude was down $53,000 and we were making fun of him on Wall Street Bets. We were making fun of him. And then on Wednesday, when he was up $33 million, people started listening and now he's a local legend.
Yeah.
You know, but the hindsight's always 20/20, right?
Sure. I'll give you guys my take as an outsider, somebody that's not a financial guy. How things went down with me in particular. I'm seeing the headlines. I'm seeing the stuff in my news feed. I start Googling stuff. I find you guys. I'm live streaming stuff. I immediately set up Robinhood and Webull accounts. JJ, I'm pretty sure I used your links.
I said, did you use somebody's link to get some free stocks?
Yeah. So I got the free stocks and I dump money in and then I can't do anything. You know, it's like the money's there, but I don't have the buying power yet. And I'm waiting for things and I'm watching AMC, GameStop. I'm about to make these buys. You know, I'm thinking like, you know, do I do an option? Do I just straight up buy stocks? What am I going to do? And I'm literally watching for the first time in a 1 day frame, whatever you want to call it, even down to an hour, the stock going like this. And I never put any money into anything.
John, hindsight, that was probably the best thing that could have happened.
So like I have this
because
money
the people that got in 2 hours before you when they could have, they lost.
The only thing I did is I put money into Doge.
That's a good thing.
JJ's into that.
I got
That's
sold
the
out,
only
but
thing that I did.
It's gone up.
Robinhood, I put money in Doge and I'm up. We'll see what happens.
I have a Bitcoin at $7,000, and it's like, but people were talking about the Dogecoin, and I'm texting JJ during the live stream like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? And he's texting me back going, I don't know, but they keep mentioning it, but I'm gonna buy it. like on the major brokerages that we're using for crypto, you couldn't even buy it. So I'm like, what is going on with the Dogecoin? And it's
I have a
what's
little.
it? I think it's trading at like 7 cents now.
Yeah.
And we got in at like 2 cents. JJ, what are you in? You're in at 2 cents?
I'm out of it.
Oh, you got out.
Yeah.
I've got Coinbase, I think, and I've got like a little bit of Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin. Actually, I think I put all my Litecoin into Ethereum last week because I don't see Litecoin doing much. But I don't know. But I watched. Was it you, JJ, or did you put a video up of some other guy talking about how Bitcoin is part of Ethereum, is part of Doge, and they're all kind of related?
No.
I don't know.
They're only related because they're crypto, but they're all very, very different.
Yeah. So like that wasn't me, but I will say this for my crypto investments, I'm 100% in Bitcoin. That's where my crypto is. I do that because I really do feel like Bitcoin is and I bought Bitcoin back in 2017. Back whenever the crazies were up, up to like 20,000.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it had the big sell-off. I just held it. I didn't do anything with it. I was like, I still see the value here because I really looked into the technology, and I really do think. And now we're starting to see these Elon Musk just put $1.5 billion on Tesla's balance sheet. Now we're seeing, MasterCard talking about being able to do transactions with Bitcoin. I really do see the future of Bitcoin. Now, do I think here's my personal opinion. Am I ever going to go buy, a Tesla with my Bitcoin? No, probably not, because the as of right now, because of the current the how fast the price can go up and down, I wouldn't want to risk that. I wouldn't want to. I see Bitcoin being as a store of value, kind of like how we treat gold, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. I see Bitcoin being the new gold. Now, will people do transactions with Bitcoin? Absolutely. Am I going to do that? As of right now, with the volatility being where it's at, no, I wouldn't want to give up $30,000, $40,000 of Bitcoin and then it shoot up another 20% because, PayPal comes out and says, hey, we just added another $2 billion on our balance sheet. I wouldn't want to risk that. So I would rather pay with my dollars that I know what the value is and is actually an asset that, the dollar is going down as the longer you hold it. That's why they say, savers are losers, because with Bitcoin, there's no more being made of it. There's a finite amount available. It goes back to that supply and demand system. Yeah. The more people buying it up and storing it, the higher the price is going to go. To where the dollar, this is a fun fact for everybody real quick, 30% of the entire amount of dollars that have been printed out since our history of the dollar was printed out in 2020. 30% of the entire, since 1770 or whenever the dollar was created, 30% of that was printed out in 2020. That's insane. Awesome. Why do we think that? Why are we seeing the stock market going at these crazy all-time highs? Because think of the amount of money that has been flooded in the economy, and that is also flooding into the stock market.
Because the Fed goes, brrr,
yeah,
brrr.
It's insane.
And one of your viewers just commented to talk about crypto, and we will. And not to plug our podcast, but we did.
No, please.
We did an awesome episode probably early on Average Money about like our beliefs, but like I'll tell you right now, it's too volatile to be a currency. So there's a difference between like a currency and a value. So, and as JJ mentioned, it's a way to store value. It's a way to put something somewhere. We don't ever think that it's going to be exchanged. Like you're going to go to the store. I think, will you be able to? Yes. Because it has some pros and cons. It's global and it's decentralized. So with something that like Bitcoin is the Google, right? We had Ask Jeeves, we had Google search, we had all these things. Those are all the other cryptos. And at the end of the day, we ended up with Google because they were the shit. That's Bitcoin. And I tutor kids with my physics background. I tutor kids in Spain, in Europe, in Portugal, in Senegal, like all these places where we can transact in the Bitcoin because they know the direct currency to their currency. They don't have to worry about exchanging money. They know the value of a Bitcoin. So I think if there's a certain value of cryptocurrencies, and I speak in Bitcoin because I think that's the one that will ride out everybody else. It at least gives us a global standard for currency, but I don't think that we're ever going to transact it like we do the dollar yet.
Sure.
But what it does do is it says, hey, you don't like what Robinhood did because they restricted currency, or you don't like what the Democrats or you don't like what the conservatives are doing with their money because they're stopping this. You don't like that the Fed is going to give money here. You don't like taxes. You don't like things like that. That's all centralized money. If anything that we can learn from cryptocurrencies is that it's decentralized. And yeah, is it real? That I hate when people are like, oh, but it's not real. 80% of current US transactions are done digitally.
Yeah.
Nobody has a fucking $20 bill in their wallet anymore. It's all done digitally. It's all fake. But the only difference is right now in the United States, the bank, they're the ones that carry the ledger. They're the ones that follow the transactions. They're the ones that say, okay, John paid Steve and Steve paid Taylor. But can I ask the bank, hey, can I see all the transactions that John paid Taylor? They're like, no, fuck you. But with Bitcoin, you can go on and you can see every single transaction. It's verified by us, and it's verified. And the more people that get involved, the more legit it becomes. And I think as a stored value, Bitcoin, I don't think it's going to be our money. I don't think we're going to trade in the dollar or the euro for a Bitcoin. But do I think it will become a global currency and a global standard? Right now, we trade oil in the US dollar. The US dollar is a standard for crude oil across the world. Could you imagine if the US dollar continued to print money and then they lost faith in the US dollar and they're like, fuck it, I'm not going to do that. That's essentially what Elon Musk said. He's like, listen, guys, I'm going to buy into Bitcoin, not because I think that the Bitcoin is amazing, but because I think the US dollar is trash.
Yeah.
And I want to set a global standard. Well, what happens if that happened with crude oil? What if they were like, okay, we're no longer going to trade crude oil in the dollar bill anymore. We're going to do it in Bitcoin because that's legit and standardized across the entire nation. I think Bitcoin would become a lot more serious at that point. You can't say that it doesn't exist. No money really exists. Money is just paper. But it used to be backed by gold. Now it's backed by the Fed, who just goes brr, 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 and then inflation increases. The value of our dollar becomes less and less. And these are the things that JJ and I freaking debate on a regular basis over, because it's true, because we were all skeptics. The first time I heard about Bitcoin back in 2017, when just like everyone, all the GameStop people were like, ugh, GameStop. Everyone's like, oh, Bitcoin 2017. And we're like, come on, man, get into an index fund, set up your retirement, like start investing in your 401k. But now, as things become more legitimate, it's something that you at least need to take notice of.
Sure. I have so many investment questions, and we're gonna get to them. We're gonna get to them. I promise.
Go, I'm drinking. Go. I'm drinking.
The show, the actual recorded podcast is gonna come to an end here in a minute. But then we're gonna keep the live stream going, keep the YouTube going, and we'll do some more investment questions. I think we need to do toast of the week. We also need to review Evan's beer. There's a guy, Evan, in the chat here. This is his homebrew, the stout, aged on Bluebird Distilling bourbon barrel
on Nick's berries.
Dude, this stout, even though it's not as like heavy as I want normally in a stout, the mouthfeel on this is incredible. Like, this thing is incredibly well balanced, and even though like I want to knock it for not being that like super heavy, thick, chocolatey stout that I love, everything is balanced. The bourbon, the chocolate, all of those notes, that roastiness, and even though it's I don't know, there's like a perfect mouthfeel with this thing.
I said in the chat, you can get bourbon stouts that taste like a shot of bourbon with an aftertaste of beer. Yeah. This tastes like a beer that has bourbon in it.
Yeah.
I appreciate a lot.
It is really, really well done. And I think it's not that like motor oil. That's the only thing that it's not. Go ahead,
my sensationalized beginner's opinion on this is that this is a masterclass in home brewing. The smoothness of this, the mouthfeel, the terms that I don't understand, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely a great beer. It's very clean, Evan. I love it. It's really good, but I'm like, I have to work tomorrow, and I gotta finish this beer. It's really, really good, but holy shit, this is fucking
fantastic. Toast of the week for me. Happy Chinese New Year. I just got bourbon right on the back of my throat there.
It's like, wow.
Happy Chinese New Year. If you're into that. And also check out Kennett Brewfest, KennettBrewfest.com. There's still tickets available, even though it's not actually an actual event. They've got 2 fantastic cases, 48 unique beers from 48 different breweries. They're also giving a golden ticket away to a handful of people that pick up the beer. So if you're listening, watching, check out KennettBrewfest.com. Get your tickets. Pick up your cases at the end of February. I think it's like February 27th or something like that.
We've got ours.
Yeah, we got ours.
It's a good job, John.
I need that soundboard.
He's got the sounds.
My toast of the week. If you haven't seen it, go check out The Cat Lawyer. Have you seen The Cat Lawyer?
Oh, the video that went viral?
Yeah.
I promise I'm not a cat.
Oh, yeah.
Cat Lawyer. He's on a legal call with a cat freaking filter on, but the man was like, I'm ready to proceed, Judge.
The best is when his eyes like go to the side and they're like bugging out of his head. Like,
Cat
how do
Lawyer.
I change this shit?
Let's hear it for Cat Lawyer.
Good job. I have 2 quick ones if I could.
Yeah.
First things first. Shout out to Sean from FAM. He won our Patreon monthly giveaway on our Patreon exclusive that we recorded and put it out today. So shout out to him. Also, shout out to Travis View from the QAnon Anonymous podcast, who gave me an hour of his time this past week in an awesome interview. If you haven't yet, please go check out Might Be News from Monday. It was an incredible interview that we dealt with a 2 to 3 second delay the entire time. And we really got to the bottom of some things. And I just kind of asked him some beginner's questions about some things that I've been researching. And it was just a really great conversation. So if you haven't, go check out Might Be News from Monday. It was a really great time.
What are these cheers? I want to cheers. What are we cheersing?
Whatever you want. Toast of the week. We just bring up whatever you feel like toasting. If you got something on your mind you want to toast to, we do it.
Whoever you like.
JJ, you go first.
JJ's muted and he doesn't know it.
I'm gonna cheers to Taylor because we're both new craft beer drinkers, and he also had the same headphones.
Nice.
Nice.
I'll follow up with 2. Cheers to you guys for bringing on us weirdos, and cheers to JJ Buckner, man. Paying off a mortgage is a big fucking deal, and I, as somebody that's also very into money and very into personal finance, I often say like, I don't need to do that, but it's really because I can't. So JJ Buckner, cheers to you, bud, for paying off your mortgage.
Thank you.
He's 29 years old, guys. He's 29 years old and he doesn't have a mortgage. People don't realize he's got a 40-year-old beard, but he's only 29 years old.
3 years, right?
3 years, yeah, man. It's crazy.
Wow, man. That's so cool.
I mean, it's a relatively affordable home, but I'm living in, smaller town America. It's nothing too crazy extravagant, but that's the reason why we did that.
Don't undervalue yourself, JJ.
No.
That YouTube money.
No, it's Patreon money. It's not YouTube money. It's Patreon.
Patreon money.
Oh man, you guys.
Right,
hopefully it'll be
you
average money soon.
Let's wrap it up, and we will keep things going on the live stream and YouTube.
Is YouTube working?
I don't know. It says it is. We'll see what happens. Guys, if you took the time to check us out, to listen to us, to watch us, to participate, to chat, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Make sure you check out patreon.com/MBN Network. Check out our sponsor, CBD.com. PUNOMIACBD.com. Check out Average Money Podcast. Look up the Finn Mindset?
Brad Finn. Just look up Brad Finn.
Yeah, look up Brad Finn. Look up JJ Buckner, YouTube, Average Money Podcast. They put out fantastic content. Better yourself, man. Invest some money. Figure it out. Learn from them. That's what I'm trying to do. But yeah, if you guys took the time, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much. We've got a lot of really cool stuff in store. We're brewing our first beer, might be Brews beers. We've got a collab coming up with Fam and Locust Lane that we're gonna touch on, and we're gonna hopefully be a part of. We're going to what do you call it? Lehigh Valley Beer Week is coming up. We're gonna have those guys on the show very soon. So lots of exciting content coming your way. So stay tuned, and we will talk to you next time.
I'll just start the music over again. Do you have any more? We can just do all that over. We can just keep going. Do you have more stuff to add on?
I think
we want to thank you, Taylor.
Taylor, do you got that Rode Podcaster Pro? What do you got there?
Yeah,
I do.
Exactly it.
Fuck you, man. I want.
He's got the Rode mics. He's got the Rode.
I see the pod. I see that, and he's got a SM58 over there. Steve's got an SM58. I see. What do you got there, Steve? Right? Is that the Shure SM58?
It's all from the Might Be Brews Patreon listeners. That's what it's all from.
But that mic is a Shure SM58, right?
I don't
know if it's a Shure. Is it?
Taylor gave it to me.
What does it say? What does it say right under the white, the silver there?
That's a Samson.
Hey,
R21.
real quick.
I'm about my pipes that sound great.
I'm about to piss my pants. I'll be right back.
Go for it.
Do it.
All right.
All right, Taylor, you peacing out? I think I might take a bathroom break myself real quick while everybody's taking a quick break. We'll come right back and we'll answer all the financial questions.
I'll just sit here and look pretty.
I'll hang out until you come back, John.
I'm drinking. Wait,
did you open a new one, or are you still on the MGD?
No. So I have actually curtains up, and I actually wanted to talk about this on the podcast. So this is it's a nationwide collaboration, and it's to support the fine arts. So Chris and I were very, very big in high school about the fine arts. And this was done by the Happy Hour guys. They're a pretty big national brand. I don't know if you know who they are, but they created I think there's 55 breweries in 11 states, and we all made the same beer. So we collaborated on the recipe, but obviously different brew houses make beer different. So depending on where you got the beer, it's all the same label, but it's all different beer. So we did this with Gun Hill. They're in the Bronx. So we did this with them, and some breweries got together and did it like that. But it's an amazing New England IPA. And at the bottom, it's 6.5 ABV, a national brewers collaboration to support the fine arts. I think all the proceeds went to Broadway and not just off Broadway. So they went off to the off Broadway productions, all those guys and women that can't perform right now that make a living this way. So if there's one thing that Chris is really, really good at, it's giving back. I would say that when I worked there and when I owned it, and even now, we were a break-even brewery. We made sure that everybody around us ate, everybody around us was happy. And I think that was one reason why I was able to step away, because Chris knew that I stepped away because I needed to be happy. And we had a common mission. And it was never about money. It was always about, like, obviously he takes a salary. He has to feed his family as well. But I don't want to call the brewery a nonprofit, but whenever we can give back, we always gave back. And he threw some Citra, Amarillo, Zecca, and Centennial in here with common hops that we use. And I'm really looking forward to sending you guys some beer, because we got some good stuff that we can send you. And I'll make you a gift bag, and I'll put some stuff in there. And obviously, I know we mentioned before we started recording, I know about Equilibrium. Mm-hmm. I know about Trillium. I know about Treehouse. Like I said, Treehouse was one of those breweries. They started around the same time as us. So yeah, there you go. Sierra Nevada is
hazy.
And we're going to Nashville when we hit 100,000 downloads. One thing we don't know about is podcast stats. So you guys may be able to tell us, but we said if we ever hit 100,000 downloads, we're going to go to Asheville. And Sierra Nevada, they came out from Chico, and they opened a spot in Asheville, North Carolina. So I think we're going to go out, and we're going to have a meetup down there. But this is JJ going to Costco and buying some like non-lagers. It makes me excited seeing him have a couple beers.
I saw Mike in the chat said he has a beard for a hazy boy. I don't know what that means, but I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm going to roll with it.
It depends on what side you're on. The Haze boys are either they're a good crew or a bad crew, depending on.
I'm going to take it as a bad comment, but Mike, I'll let it slide, bud.
No, the Haze. If you're a part of the Haze, so let me ask you guys, have you guys ever heard of Other Half?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so when we were coming up and we were so Other Half is about 20 minutes from me, and we used to go. We had mules that waited online before we opened the brewery. We used to go to Other Half and wait another half. And when we opened the brewery, we realized that like they were same guys that put their pants on like everybody else. We would go there during the week, and we would kind of be poking around and we talked to the brewers, and then boom, next thing we know, we're in the back, full tour. Like we looked at Other Half as like this iconic brewery that we didn't even deserve to be in as craft brewers and home brewers at the time. And then you realize that there's very few assholes in this industry. There's very, very few assholes in this industry.
There's only one I can think of.
I can think of a few now, but like I said, there's no need to talk badly, but
Taylor and I are the assholes. We don't know what the hell we're talking
Delaware.
about.
They're in Delaware, Mr. Steve.
No.
Yeah, but just like anything, naivety is a good thing too. Like what you don't know won't hurt you. And I remember taking my friends and family to breweries, and they'd be like, "All right, so there's 8 taps on the wall. They're gonna pour beer," and I'm like, "No. What you don't understand is they have this, that, and the other thing, and they've been in this publication." And it's kind of, and that's why I love bringing JJ to the brewery, because it was like, okay, and I'm sitting here like, okay, so you're gonna get a little of this smell, then you're gonna a little of this taste, and then it's gonna finish like this. He's like, is it beer? I'm like, oh yeah, just drink the beer. And then by the time we get to the 5th one, I wasn't even explaining them anymore. I'm like, here, try this one.
And I told him, I would tell him if it was good or not. I mean, there was ones I liked, and there was ones that I did like.
Yeah, and then that's when you go to a brewery, and brewers like that, because there's a difference between being like, this beer is shit, and being like, oh, this beer just isn't for me.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time my gateway, and I think this is a great, if you guys never did this episode, what was your gateway to IPAs? My gateway, and JJ brings up a great beer. My gateway to IPAs was Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first couple times as a quote 21-year-old that I was handed my first Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. And I'm like, people drink this? This is ridiculous.
We asked a question to most of our new listeners what their gateway beer was, and I think we're at like 70% answer Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Because it was, I mean, how can a guy like that, if you've never read his book is, I'm a big reader, but he wrote a book about their upbringing. It's like, now it would be ridiculous to say, I'm going to start a craft brewery based on one beer. I'm going to make one beer and one beer only. That's what they did. They made Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. That's all they made, dry hopped, locally sourced hops. From a brewer standpoint, thinking back, it's absolutely phenomenal. And when I think about their brewery, even though they're huge, that's a great beer too, Evan. That's a great beer. If you think about like that brewery and that process, it's kind of like historian. Like you think back, and I'm like, I could never imagine now having a brewery they opened a brewery under the pretense they were going to make one beer. And I'm not surprised, because number one, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is an amazing, consistent put together. The one that I get with my buddies is Dogfish Head 60 Minute.
Yeah.
That was one, because just IPA wise, that was one for me.
And it is, and I'm like,
huge on the East Coast.
Yeah. And
I've probably in a lot of places. It's crazy. I've been to Other Half Brooklyn probably 4 or 5 times.
Oh my gosh, and we didn't know each other. Shit, I'm right down the fucking block.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've been to Other Half Rochester twice now. Their newer location. I've actually been to Chico, to Sierra Nevada, which like I just had to go because it's like the OG. Like I just had to go there and have a pale ale.
I'll tell you, like, if you don't know the locals behind the local business behind other half doing that. They pretty much built that brewery and under tax benefits, they built that brewery for free. And
and I knew there was some kind of story behind it, but I didn't.
yeah,
really...
they got that brewery pretty much for free. The government pretty much subsidized that brewery. And I will say that without saying, I think it wouldn't be too far-fetched to see Dubco have an upstate New York brewery on a 50-acre farm right outside Warwick in the very, very, very near future. It wouldn't be, I mean, it hasn't happened. I would say it wouldn't be too crazy for me to say.
I'm excited to try your stuff. JJ, what do you got?
Oh, I was gonna say I remember what my two first craft beers really were.
Yeah.
I don't remember the style, but I know where they're from. So I used to live in Kansas City. So Boulevard was one of my first craft beers I've ever had. And then Goose Island was another one that actually my uncle gave me a long time ago. That was my first ever non-typical Natty Light, Bud Select.
If it was
316 or whatever they make.
Yeah, 312.
312. It probably was that. No, I think it was a
Boulevard. Tank 7. Is that their farmhouse?
That's the farmhouse.
Yes, I love Tank 7, man.
Tank
love it.
A good one.
Ugh.
You don't like it?
No, man.
John doesn't like. You don't like Brett. You don't like the horse blanket. He doesn't like Brett.
He doesn't like funky.
He doesn't like Brett.
I like sours. I like a lot of stuff, but when you get into farmhouse, it usually.
Yeah, I'm not a Brett guy. I'm lacto for life.
Yeah,
I'm PDO and lacto for life. If you put Brett in front of me, I don't want anything to do with it.
Brad, eventually I'm going to have to get your take on my my brewing system that I have going on here. It's kind of interesting, and I'd love to get your take on it.
And I want to send you down some. I want to send you down some ingredients too. So I'll put that whatever you guys said you're going to brew. I'll make sure I'll send you down some grain. I'll crush some grain for you. Maybe send you down some hops or something like that.
Taylor, what you got?
Real quick before I get out of here to go edit the podcast. One of my favorite things about being on the show and being a new beer guy, JJ, is that over the past couple of years that we've been doing this, so many great this is by far the most feedback that we get on a show. I produce so many shows for the network, but this is the one that people are like, oh my God, I'm tuning in and I'm commenting, and we do it live. But even before that, people would mention oh, get Taylor to try this beer. I want to see if Taylor likes this beer. Yeah. And when we go to the brew fests, people are like, oh, you're Taylor. You're the guy who said that such and such beer tastes like armpit. Try it. And so people, it's this really kind of cool thing where it's everybody's just trying to get me drunk all the time. And also 2 years ago, I might not have liked your beer, Evan. But I love it now, and this show has really kind of boosted my palate, so to speak, and it's fucking awesome.
I will say this, Taylor. Hang on real quick, Brad. I will say this. I do agree with you wholeheartedly that I feel like I am acquiring different tastes.
Yeah.
The more stuff I try and the more I guess understand, or I guess really.
That's what she said. That's what she said.
But no, seriously, the more I drink and the more I try different things, it's definitely something that I'm acquiring a taste for different types.
A switch flipped one day. That's how it happened for me. I just was I don't like it, don't like it, don't like it. And then I was just drinking twisted teas. And then one day I was like, whoa.
What's funny is the John drinking twisted teas, and I was drinking a Bud Light Lime, making fun of him because he didn't like beer, and here I am, not even realizing that such a thing as an IPA existed. So,
if I can bring this full circle, even bringing money back into this, so many people don't want to talk about money because they feel like they are going to be tabooed and they're going to be shunned for the things they do. Same thing with beer. I just cracked another Miller High Life, and someone that's a Cicerone and that knows more about beer than the most people, there's something to be said for just having a nice, refreshing, cold beer that you enjoy and you like. And it doesn't matter what the fuck anybody else thinks about it. You can judge me all you want. And the same holds true for money. If you have a money question, or if you're thinking about investing and you have a question about your 401k and you have a question about your retirement or a Roth IRA or what's
that, no dumb question.
There's no do not be ashamed that you think you're a boring investor or you don't know enough. It's the same. I've related beer to investing so many times because I remember when I used to be around beer and brewers and be like, I can't be drinking a Coors Light around them. They're going to make fun of me.
Get it, John.
But then the really confident, self-confident brewers that would crack a Coors Light, and I'm like, holy shit, you drink Coors Light too? I want to drink Coors Light with you. It's like, if you like Coors Light, on a sunny day, on a hot sunny day, then drink Coors Light. If you like KBS on a really cold winter day, then drink KBS. If you like whiskey because you're looking to get some action, then drink some whiskey. If you drink gin because you're going to go throw down, then drink some gin. Like, it doesn't make you a bad person because of the beers that you like. And it doesn't downplay the types of beer. Same with money. Like, money is not taboo. By not talking about money is the same as not talking about beer. You would not have found out about beer if somebody wasn't willing to be like, here, try this beer. And I think if anything, at its core and its root, and like to bring this full circle, the reason that JJ and I have social media platforms about money is because we want people to know that, like, if you have a dumb question, I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm not going to laugh at you. I've been there. I've been in debt. I've made dumb decisions. I've been a gambler. I've been a YOLOer. I've done dumb shit, but I've learned from them. And as educators, we made these platforms because just like you made these platforms, and just because Taylor's being vulnerable and saying, like, I used to drink Bud Light Lime and now I'm trying shit. We're the same people on different platforms. JJ and I said, hey, I understand that you are the Bud Light Lime of money. Well, how, like, let me give you something else to taste. Let me show you some other things. And at the end of the day, we can all like rise up together and we can make this not taboo. And then we can all be fucking wealthy, and then we can buy whatever the fucking beers we want, because JJ and I, we drink whatever fucking beers we want. We drink whatever fucking beers we want. And it's a damn good feeling when we go to the bar. And like I said, I was drinking Angel's Envy tonight. Nobody's drinking Angel's Envy because who's paying $22 for whiskey? But when you get your money tight and you clear up your debt and you learn a couple things, you can't do it every night, but every once in a while you can go out and drink an Angel's Envy and not feel bad about it.
Right.
And
take it home.
I still drink, like, I get like $8 for a 15-pack of Natty Light. You can't beat it. You can't beat it. Come on now.
Tomorrow. Guys, it was really great to meet you. I'm going to get linked up with you. I want to talk more with you guys about the and listen to your videos and watch all that stuff, because this is stuff that I'm totally unaware of.
don't be shy, man. Like, reach out. Like, even if you're like, hey, I have a 401k at work and I don't know how that fucking works. Like, reach it. Like, we go from 6 to midnight over talking about that and seeing people win. So
leave a voicemail for the podcast.
Yeah, leave a voicemail for the podcast too. Like, you know, we genuinely love doing this.
I might have to set something up on my own show as well, just to get back into it with you guys as well. So we'll work something out. I'll hit you guys up here in the next day or two.
And that pod mic sounds fucking bang bang.
Thank you so much.
It does sound
His
good.
sounds really nice.
It's the golden pipes, baby.
All right, dude. Have a good night.
Peace out. Thank you guys so much.
Later.
Everybody listening, everybody watching, all that good stuff. Bye-bye.
Say Doge to the moon.
Doge to the moon.
How do you say? Is it Do? I can't say it in New York. Is it Dodge? Doge?
I think it's Doge.
Doge?
If people are still watching, before I leave, make sure you go watch or listen to news this past week. It's probably the most professional thing I've ever done in my entire life. So, please, and I did it with a 3-second delay. Let me tell you how stupid that was. With somebody that I was already pissing myself to talk to. I was fucking nervous as shit. And I get on and I say, "Hey, what's up, man?"
Oh no!
"Hey, what's up, man?" Shit.
Oh my gosh.
Me and that guy have the same router.
Taylor, I didn't notice it
I'm glad
until
you're on tonight.
the very end.
Yes, I couldn't change it because I play the music on the show already, so I did that live, and I'm like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? I shouldn't have even talked to him during the time I was playing anyway. I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna leave this in. Maybe somebody's going to realize that I spent 3 hours editing the show, so that people, you know what I'm saying? You listen to the end and it's like, hey, what day does your podcast come out? Wednesday. Oh, great.
Oh my
Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for having me.
No.
This shit is fucking gold.
So that was a blast, and I did it for an entire like hour and 15 minutes.
Well,
Really, really
Taylor, as the guy that edits my podcast, and these other fuckers have no idea what we go through. Cheers to you, Taylor. To the editors out there that have to listen to this shit 4 times over before it goes out.
Dude, I had a blast doing it. I was like, this is the biggest episode I've ever put out in my life. I have to do this. The person I'm interviewing has almost 70,000 Twitter followers. This is a must. Like, you know what I mean? So it was a pressure cooker situation, but I knocked it out of the park. And just a little behind the scene or quick little thing for everybody else. Exclusive. I got another interview that I'm brewing right now, and I'm really, really excited about it. So stay tuned, MBN Network.
Don't worry about it. It's all anytime, bro. Don't worry about it.
Dude, and hey, I'll be talking to you guys real soon.
Later, bro.
Later, guys. Have fun.
See you, buddy.
I have to be honest. I was like a little oblivious to the whole network thing. Like, I didn't know you guys had a whole like thing going on.
Yeah. So the quick background is my brother. He's the voice. He's the guy that's got talent, and he went to like the broadcasting school, and he started a podcast up, and he was doing a show called Might Be News. So he's like just talking about whatever he feels like talking about. And then he started bringing people in and doing other shows. He wanted to do more content. So he did a Might Be Sports, and all of the wives got together and did relatable radio. They just talked about kids and, girly stuff and whatever, but it was a good show. It was entertaining. So, me and Mr. Steve are chatting, and we're like, man, we should do a fucking show about beer. And so he came on, and that's why we're Might Be Brews. And so, yeah, that's kind of the deal, is like there's this whole network where like there's multiple shows that come out every week.
That's awesome.
Me and Mr. Steve, we only do every other week. That's like the most content that we do.
Well, Steve looked like he had a bunch of, he had a beautiful baby girl there that seems like he's got the family life too,
Yeah, we all got the family life going.
Yeah,
on.
I got 2 girls myself. JJ, what do you have? You have 2?
Yeah, I got
Brad, you got kids?
Yeah, we both have one of each, and they're opposite sexes at the same age.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's like, both of our kids are going to date, and we're going to set up arranged marriages.
We'll be in business together, and then we'll become in-laws.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
My little daughter saying like, "Hi, Mason." I'm like, "Hey, don't say it like that." you say, "What do you got for me, Mason?"
I am so glad that having 2 girls, that John also has 2 girls.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a good thing.
I remember the first one when you're like, as a guy, you're like, I want a boy. And when I found out a girl, I was like, oh, fuck that. But I'm so glad I had a girl, because there's nothing better than daddy's little girl. There's nothing better than that. But I'm not going to lie. When I found out I was having a boy the second time, I was like, yes, 1 and 1. Like,
weird, man.
like you guys got to go for the boy. No, you're not going for the boy.
Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely
I would be done it too as well.
Yeah. There's definitely some math or some science there that like once you have 2 of the same sex,
you're gonna have another one of the same sex.
Yeah,
I am not having 3 girls.
No.
That was not. I had to get a boy dog to just even it out.
I just couldn't. I can't imagine. I mean, you've got 2 hands. There's 2 car doors. There's 2 bedrooms. Like
2 parents. Each grab one.
The math
you guys start
right
playing at 3. You got to start playing zone defense.
Like,
I'm man to man. I'm like, you take that one, I'll take this one.
Yes, that's why I got mine as well.
Yeah.
I am done.
Well
I'm done.
Yeah.
JJ, you got some ink today, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
Let's see it. I want to see that. What you got up there?
It's covered up right now. I was trying to hide the plastic.
No, JJ's got some sleeve going on today.
Yeah.
I want to touch it like a tattoo master. What's that show called?
Do
Ink
what?
Master.
Ink Master.
Ink Master.
I'm gonna be Dave Navarro.
Yes. Yeah.
Little
Yeah.
shaky outline, dog.
Seen a bunch of blowouts.
No, yeah, the guy that does my stuff, he's amazing. And I've been wanting something for a long time, and I have the time to do it now. So I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do it. So it incorporates like family and everything, my faith and whatnot.
So I'm definitely going to ask investment questions. I'm also interested in the YouTube stuff because I mean, we put out content, we podcast.
Real quick, but can I cut you off? I see live. Are we still streaming? Like, can we?
Yes.
So we're on the record still.
We're still on the record.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you want me to pull us off?
No, that's fine. I just want to know if we're on the record. Okay.
Yeah. We're still live on the internet.
Brad wants to take another bong hit.
I was about to say, did you want to ask that earlier?
You just tell me, I'll take you off of the frame.
You're like, hold on, wait. What could be worse than ripping bong hits?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
All right, no, I just want to know if we were on the record.
I can pull this from YouTube afterward.
No, it's fine.
So I guess as somebody who's putting out content that's got these pages, like I feel like personally we put a lot of work into Facebook and Instagram, and we're posting and we're hashtagging. We're trying to get more followers. Instagram has been fantastic. Facebook seems to have an algorithm that fights you, that if you share content from a page, nobody sees it. And then when you post a picture of your daughter, you get fucking 7,500 likes.
Because they don't want you leaving the platform. You know, if you post like a YouTube clip or something else, they want you to stay on Facebook. You know, so I feel I have the same thing happen to me. So now what I do is I actually started this a couple months ago. I have a Facebook page so my number one source of income and like my main focus is YouTube. Yeah. I'm starting to branch off elsewhere. The podcast. I just started TikTok. You won't find me dancing on there, but giving like financial, giving finance advice and stuff. So yeah. So what I've noticed is that like when I share a YouTube link to my Facebook page, no one sees it because Facebook doesn't want you leaving their platform. So now what I've done is I created a Facebook page and I just upload the separate file from my YouTube video over to my Facebook page, but it's not the link. Like I'm uploading the raw file to my Facebook page. Okay. So that way it's Facebook local. I have my YouTube local, and then it just kind of works that way. So and it's working. My Facebook page has been
that's interesting,
growing organically. I haven't done anything with it. My thought process was I have the content. Why the hell I don't put it up on another platform? You know, it makes for 5 seconds worth of work. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So that's something I never considered. But like, I don't put a ton of stuff on YouTube, but I'm going to start doing it. I'll tell Brad about it in more detail later. But we kind of like got some free shit. This company makes this brewing system that's like kind of like a Keurig, like a countertop home brew system. So it's really cool. It's really high tech. I was really interested in it, and they sent it to us. And I'm just like, I'll make as much content as I can about it. So I started recording videos. I put a couple YouTube videos out, but when I share them, like it feels like nobody sees them. So maybe I just upload the same fucking video as a Facebook video and see how that goes. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a trick around like uploading YouTube. I mean, so it took me 9 months to get from 0 subscribers to 1,000. Took 9 months. Now I'm getting that in like, you know, a day, which is crazy to think about, but it attribute to the success. I mean, you've got, I mean, how many followers does JJ Buckner have on YouTube now? I think I'm like 140. I think I hit recently. Something nuts. Like that. I mean, how do you get to that level? I mean, if you were somebody who's like, all right, whatever space that you're in, maybe you're very lucky to be in the space that you are, but if you wanted to, if somebody, regardless of their theme or the industry or the content that they're putting out, wants to grow their channel or get more followers, I mean, is there anything in particular that happened that got you the growth that you did? Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first and foremost is like consistency is key. You know, the more consistent you are with your uploads, the better YouTube algorithm is going to favor you. So if that's, you know, I feel like 2 videos a week is like the sweet spot. If you can do more, more of that, that's better. You know, the more content you upload right now, the better it is. YouTube algorithm is always changing, but right now they're favoring more quantity uploads, you know, versus maybe quality. But also I think the biggest thing for like a newer YouTuber to start out is like find people in your space, right? Find in your industry, your niche, whatever that is. So if you're brewing beer, find other brew beers on YouTube who are bigger than you, 10,000 plus subscribers. Maybe you find one that's like 5,000. You find a couple above 100,000 and watch what they're doing and study those channels and see what works. There's a couple things you can do. So on like a bigger scale, like the guys like 100,000 plus, 500,000 plus, you obviously are not going to be on their level yet. I remember being on the 0 to 1,000 and like trying to like make the content that was working for them, but that's not how it works. You know, YouTube favors those guys because they're at a certain level. To where like if you're a newbie, what I did is I would find guys who are like, okay, let's say JJ Buckner is at 800 subscribers, right? So then I would find YouTube channels at 5K, 10K, a 25K, and like a 30K. And then anytime I saw that they had a video come out that was above their subscriber count, that's pretty good for a YouTube video. So if you got if you got a channel that has 5,000 subscribers and then they release a video and then within a matter of a month, it gets like 20,000 views, then that video did really well for their channel. And there was a reason for that. You don't quite know what it is, but what you look at is you look at the title, you look at the thumbnail, and you look at what the video is about. If you can get those three things together and see why the algorithm pushed it, I will almost guarantee you that if you release a video similar to that, but you put your own value or your own swing, you don't copy it, obviously, but it's all related to the same subject, the algorithm will pick that up. It may not do the 20,000 views that your 10,000 view channel did, but if you're the 800 subscriber, it may give you 2,000-3,000 views on a video, which is huge for a small channel like that.
Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, like, I mean, being brand new, I don't put anything out on YouTube really other than these podcasts we put out. But like, go ahead.
I want to say this. So 2.5 years ago, JJ, I would say YouTube is where you should start. Honestly, where I think everyone should start now is TikTok.
Okay.
I really think if you guys put out brewed content, like what you're doing and stuff, guarantee you it blows up. It may take a few down the road, but to catch on, but trust me, there are guys that are brewing beer and into the craft beer stuff that's on TikTok. And that's like the best way you can. So
I just started one and I don't even know what the fuck to do with it.
Me neither. But I somehow magically got 11,000 followers and
holy shit.
But no, I'm telling you, man, it's just consistency. That's all it is. I put up shit videos on TikTok because I'm still trying to learn I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Than what you're doing for everything else? Do you just like throw your camera up and say like, hey, this is what's going on, and you spend 2 minutes and it's done?
Literally, like, I mean, I made a video about paying off the mortgage. Like, what I like to do is like the content I put on YouTube, I replicate that on TikTok, but in like a short form, and I try to make it more exciting. Like it's not me sitting at my desk sometimes. But I think if you just like, yeah, man, like I put videos together in like 5 minutes and posted on TikTok and one of them got like over 500,000 views on it.
Wow.
It's the algorithm is so different on TikTok than it is with YouTube. It's so much more favorable. There, I would think if anyone wants to grow on social media right now, I think the best thing to do is start on TikTok and then organically send those followers to affiliates, to YouTube, to Instagram, whatever that is.
Yeah, because when TikTok started, you couldn't link in your profile. You couldn't externally link. So in the beginning, it was like, who cares? Mm-hmm. But now that you can externally link in TikTok, the ability to grow your channel and then be able to link to your real sources of income. Because I mean, TikTok's going to have a little bit of value. I haven't gotten into there yet, but we've talked to people. JJ and I have even interviewed Ryan Pineda, who has millions of TikTok followers. And he's like, it was a game changer when they allowed you to externally link in your profile, because now we're first to market, we're blowing up, and people are seeing my external links where I really make money, my courses, my YouTube channel, my website, and things like that.
I didn't even plug your Teachable, man. That was like half the reason I had you guys on.
Yeah, you got the podcast, so that'll lead them to it.
All right.
Yeah, and we're not even about that. Like,
no,
we're not about like, and kind of what I was saying, like, we genuinely enjoy seeing people win. JJ and I clap for people when they win. And that's, I think, reasons why we live 1,000 miles apart and we're best friends, because we have this common goal of seeing people win and seeing people succeed. Do we win and succeed? Yes. Do we fuck up? Yeah, we post everything. We let everybody know, but we always try and like learn from it ourselves, but more importantly, help other people learn from our fuck ups. And I think one of the greatest qualities that JJ and I both have are like work ethic and positivity. We're always going to like be busting our ass. There's very few people people can like call me a boomer and they can make fun of me and this and the other thing, but nobody can question my work ethic. Nobody works harder than I do. And I learned that from Gary Vee, who's another New York guy. Like nobody can step up to the mic and say they work harder than me. I don't sleep. I don't lay back. I put my kids aside sometimes. Like there are certain things that I do because I have this like short-term goal for long-term gratification. And I just do that to make sure. And I show that to show people like, hey, you can bust your ass and sacrifice for a small amount of time for a long amount of gratification, as opposed to, that rat race, that grind, that whatever. Like people say to JJ and I all the time, like, you're live streaming, you're doing this. Don't you have kids at home? Like, yeah, well, right now my kids are 1 and 2 years old. Maybe I'm being a little bit of a deadbeat dad, and mom's handling that because mom knows that I'm setting up a foundation that when they're old enough to understand what's going on, dad's not going to be working anymore.
Yeah.
And we don't go on vacations now. We don't go out to eat now. We don't do these certain things because if you delay this instant gratification for long-term gratification, like being cool in your 20s is awesome. But then 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, you have to make up for that. I would rather be boring in my 30s and like not go out and not vacation and watch everybody do it in my 30s, but know that my 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and however long I live, I ain't going to have to worry about shit.
Yeah.
And the best part about it is bringing other people along with us for that journey.
Yeah. See, that's one of those things that like watching your guys' videos makes me think about like how maybe I should be allocating funds, you know what I mean? And how to do things, because investing was never really something on my radar. I've got an IRA. My wife's got a 401k. She's got ESOP from her company, dual incomes, whatever. So like, that's cool. Right. But like, what else could I be doing? JJ, I saw you've got a rental property, and are you guys going to do a joint rental property? That's really cool. Right. So I'd love to hear more about that. But like, the other thing that was interesting to me is that when I started digging into like these stocks with dividends, I'm trying to understand that a little bit more. And it seems like to me, the simple mind that I have, that at least in our real estate market, if I'm going to buy a house in Coatesville, which Steve knows what I'm talking about, the city of Coatesville is cheaper real estate, lower income, whatever you want to call it. But like, you could probably buy a place there for $150,000 and get a good, 1,200 hours a month rent on it. Right. So like maybe
send me the link, John. Send me the link.
So you could find some real estate there. You can get some decent rent and whatever. But to me, looking at some of these videos about these dividend stocks, like you could also invest $50,000 into stocks and maybe end up retrieving or getting the same kind of income off of it. It's kind of another avenue where maybe if you don't have the $150,000, even though interest rates are cheap, money's cheap, you can get an interest, you can get a mortgage. You tickle JJ.
I really want to talk about this, but I got to go pee real quick again. I have a bladder of like a 5-year-old little boy, so I'll be right back.
All right, I can answer for you. So your real estate income is the same as a dividend. That's
the way I saw it. As soon as I started seeing videos on dividends, I'm like, this is like buying a rental property, but it's a difference of allocation. The difference between a real estate property and dividends. When a dividend is a thank you card from a company with a little bit of money in it. That's what a dividend is. Thanks for investing us. Here's a quarterly thank you card with a little bit of money in it. But when you have a real estate property, the company that's sending out the card is you. So you own the business, and then you get the thank you card in return, which is the rent payment. And it becomes like there's so many different ways to invest in real estate, whether you're flipping, buy and hold, whether
personally for me in New York, I can't, with my markets, I can't buy and hold. I can't flip. So I rent money out to other markets. Like you said, like you just said, like I got a house I can spend $115K for. I can't even get a basement apartment for that. So I don't make excuses and say, I live in New York, I live in California, I live here, the cost of living is so high. I say, no, I got 125 grand. I'll ship it out to West Virginia. So right now I have a place in Charleston, West Virginia, and I'm doing a flip with the team there. Now, do I cut in on my margins because I brought in a team there that's doing everything for me? Yeah, but it's mailbox money. Every single month I get $775 in the bank on my $92,000 borrow for doing nothing because I wasn't egotistical and didn't say that I have to control things and didn't have to say I don't need to bring on a team. With JJ, we're going even outside his market. It's in Missouri, but we're going Kansas City, which is 4 hours from him. But we have a team in place there. We have a realtor. We have a property manager. We have a handyman. We have all these things in place. And just like any business, we're going to pay them a certain percentage to make sure it's done. But you present the capital. But you can't do any of these things, John, Steve. You can't do any of these things unless you have that foundation built, right? You can't build the house unless you have the foundation. And for us, and I'm speaking for JJ here, the foundation is debt freedom, not including a mortgage, because mortgages that's different. Consumer debt, no car debt, no student loan debt. Because both of us, JJ and I, we both spend so much time getting rid of those to see exponential growth in our wealth, not because we were making more money, but because we didn't owe money to other people. We stopped paying other people and we figured out ways that we could pay ourselves. We essentially are the banks for ourselves. We loan money to ourselves and our businesses, and then our businesses are not only paying us back, but our businesses back as well. And I think when you get to real estate, that's just the difference between dividend investing. When you buy Apple stock, which is a great stock, you're going to get some growth and you're going to get some dividends. When you buy something like J&J, Johnson & Johnson, you'll get not as much growth, but you get a pretty good dividend. And that's how you can find that strategy in yourself. But either way, we're talking efficiencies. We're not talking about like wins and losses. Nobody loses when you invest. If you invest for the long term over the course of 10, 20 years, very, very small chance you are going to lose if you follow basic principles and strategies that are laid out on the internet everywhere. It's just live below your means, be debt free, and save up for shit that you need.
So those are things that I didn't even know existed. You know, like I just assumed like you buy stock and the entire thing is like a casino. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. And, you know, I didn't even know things like dividends existed, you know, and spending a half hour on the internet looking into dividends
blows your mind, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy. JJ, your video recently, you talked, I don't know if it was your mortgage video or whatever, you posted something and you were like, so both of our cars are paid off, my wife and I, and I'm like itching for that new truck, right? And you're like, we paid our mortgage off, but guess what? Like my wife's driving the same car she drove in high school or some shit, right? Yeah. Like
she is.
That's crazy. Like to me, it's like, what are my priorities? Do I need a fucking new car? The shit still drives. I don't need to replace anything on it. Why not, you know, keep driving that thing, save that money, put it somewhere else?
Here's my question. Here's my question to you on that. Would you rather have the brand new truck, or would you rather have 5 years back on your life of freedom? Like that, like that's the way I look at everything. Time is our most valuable asset, and we're never going to get any more of it. So that's why I want my money in order as fast as I can. That way I know I have the freedom to take a risk and, you know, do fucking YouTube full time. Like when I quit my job, I was like, I had so many people like, dude, you're an idiot. What are you doing? Which like I was making decent income at the time. Like I was making more than I was making at my job. So it was, but the scary part about that was it could go away next month. So that's the scary part. But having those things in order of like knowing the mortgage was about to be paid off, you know, we don't have any other debts, whatever like that. So like knowing that if something bad happened and like we have a cash account, like, you know, emergency fund set in place like for 12 months that we could live off of for a whole year if we needed to, like that makes you feel a little better to take these risks and be like, hey, I can do this. I don't have to stay at this job or do whatever because I have this cash cushion to try this new thing that's going to earn me hopefully a little bit of an income. And if it's a little less, so be it. But I've already paid off all my debt. So all I got to do is put food on the table and pay my electric bill.
Everything that you guys have talked about and I've been watching lately has like completely changed my view on things. Like, you know, I've had a really good couple years.
I really feel hang on. Sorry, John. I hate to do this to you. I really feel like we should have fucking recorded this, Brad. This would have been
for our podcast.
for your show.
Yeah.
No, like John, I want to have you on my show to like give this beginner's perspective.
I'm happy to do it.
This is like good. This is good shit.
I'm happy to do it. So like you guys completely changed my mind on what I should be doing with things. Like my wife and I in the last like 12, 16, 18 months, whatever, have just like things have been going really well with both of our jobs, bonuses, whatever. And we put a shit ton of money into a vacation property, which is like super exciting for us. But it's like there's really, other than like owning real estate, there's not a whole lot of return on it. And to me, I'm thinking back, like, even though we're going to enjoy it and you're going to have that work-life balance, I'm really thinking about like, I would much rather retire at 50 than go to the beach every other weekend. You know what I mean?
Well, here's my.
It's just crazy, like how you can hear somebody that has some experience and can talk about what money can do for you if it's put in the right places, and it just changes your entire perspective on how you want to live the rest of your life.
And don't confuse like success with efficiency. Like it doesn't matter when you retire. It doesn't matter if you're 50. Doesn't matter if 55. All that matters is you get there and you're happy, because retirement's supposed to be your golden years. And like I talk to so many people in their 50s that are like, I'm just starting now, Brad. Like, what do I do? And it doesn't matter how old you are. Like, it'd be very easy for me to be jealous of JJ at 29, paid off mortgage, but he's doing his journey, and I'm gonna be inspired by it. I'm gonna make my journey. And whether that's like real estate, whether it doesn't matter, but I mean, we're forced into this position where we have to continually evaluate ourselves according to what other people are doing. And I don't think that having a vacation home is a bad thing. Like I said, these are efficiency issues. Like that's a good thing to have. That's a good place to be in. But it's almost harder having money than it is having debt. Because when you have debt, you just get out of debt.
There's
when you have money, you're like, well, do I go in the stock market? When you have debt, you have one job, get out of debt. It's harder like being debt free sometimes. It's fucking ridiculous.
And that's probably right where I'm at. Like if I wanted to get really personal and get into my stuff, like we have our mortgage and we have one car payment that's got about, I don't know, a year left, nothing huge. What's the next steps that I could be taking? Should I be worried about messing with my 401k? I'm a 401k guy that I have it set up so that it changes as I age.
Okay.
It's more aggressive in stocks, and as I get older, it lessens the stocks.
Yeah.
But I don't touch it. My investment strategy is I'm too scared to fuck something up.
Right.
But Steve, even a target date fund like that, Steve, even a target date fund like that, which is what you have, is still exponentially better than the majority of Americans.
Yeah.
The
But
amount of people that don't invest. Go ahead.
But I know there's a lot of people probably in our chat that kind of feel the same way. I have a little bit of investment. I have a little bit that I can do, but I don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah.
Because how much worse could I get than if I fuck it up?
Right.
That's
where we come in.
Yeah, no, for real though. Like that's the best question that people can ask me, because what Brad and I love to talk about on the Average Money podcast is what's going to work for the average individual out there. Me, Brad, Mr. Steve, John, we're all average dudes who love to drink beer and we want to do better for our family, right? That's all we want, you know? So honestly, the best thing I think anyone could do whenever they want to invest is look into index funds. They're low cost. So you've heard of,
I say this a few times.
So you've heard of mutual funds, right? I mean, mutual funds is what you buy in your 401k, whatever. So index fund is basically, I do this all the time. I say basically all the time. That's my word. It's a cheaper mutual fund that's going to do almost the exact same thing, if not outperform that mutual fund, because the index fund tracks the market and it's a very low cost because it's passively managed. Mutual funds, there's usually a team of guys in suits that are managing the mutual fund, and you got to pay them a hefty fee, which isn't a lot of 401ks. But if you look a little deeper, Steve, your target fund is probably probably just a passively managed fund, if I would guess.
Yeah, like 0.16 expense ratio. Probably.
Yeah, something like that. So like if you get into a lower expense ratio, an index fund that's going to track the S&P 500 or VTSAX is one Brad and I put all of our retirement into. That's Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. VTSAX is what we do all of our retirement accounts in. Once all that's covered, Roth IRAs, that's a big one. If you don't have a Roth IRA, I highly, highly recommend opening up. It's one of the greatest investment vehicles that Americans have to this day. You put taxed money in, it grows tax-free. That's dividends, capital gains, everything. So whenever you turn 59 and a half, all the money that's grown from whenever you started that Roth IRA, you don't have to pay $1 in taxes on that money. So
and your beneficiaries
if you die before that happens. So yeah, it's a no-brainer to open a Roth. And index funds is perfect because, Mr. Steve, you talked about saying like, I don't want to fuck it up, right? With an index fund, what this does is this diversified. So it's made up of, let's say if you're following the S&P 500, right? So you're going to invest, when you put money into your index fund, the ETF is VOO, is what follows the S&P 500 on Vanguard. You can buy it on pretty much any app out there, Robinhood, Vanguard, Fidelity, whatever. So if you buy into VOO, what you're doing is you're buying a piece of all 500 companies that make up the S&P 500, right? So let's say 3 of those go bankrupt over a 10-year span. Doesn't hurt you one bit because you have 497 more companies that are covering you for that. To where if you go buy a stock in AT&T, and then, which is a great paying dividend stock, I own it in my own personal portfolio. If AT&T goes bankrupt next week, JJ screwed. And if I'm relying on that dividend income of that single stock alone, I am screwed out of my mind because that company is turning bankrupt. Now what do I do? So the power of diversification is there. That's why Brad and I put all of our retirement accounts, everything that we're relying on for retirement, goes into index funds because I want to set it. I want to forget about it. And I never want to look at it again until I turn to my, whenever I need the money. So then my taxable accounts is I hate saying like play money because it's not play money. It's serious money to me and I take it seriously, but it's more money that I could,
it's money you really earned.
Yeah.
Like I've earned the right to, like, it's my vacation money. It's my Vegas money.
Yeah, but
how much stuff goes into index and how much, right. I mean, not like dollars, but maybe percentages or something like that. How much do you keep investing into the Roths, to the whatever? But then how much do you do with your options, your calls, your domes and stuff like that?
Brad knows my answer.
So these are videos this is why we have YouTube channels, and those are the questions that we answer. So like it's not even rough for me. I know for a fact on a daily basis. So I know that right now I have 76% of my net worth is in index funds. And whether it's a S&P 500 or the total stock market, 76% are there. I have 6% that is in stocks, individual stocks. Only 6% of my entire net worth is in stocks because I want that foundation of index funds. I want that foundation
like Robinhood and Webull and all that.
So the Robinhood, those are going to be the brokerages.
Okay.
So those are going to be the people that house those particular investments. So in my individual stocks, I use Robinhood and Webull because they're great for YouTube, but they're also somewhat reliable companies, depending on your risk tolerance. But my speculative investments and things like that, this is where JJ and I differ, and we could talk about age. I'm going to be 39 next month. JJ is going to be 30 next month. So for me, my Bitcoin tolerance and my speculative options tolerance is like 2 to 3% of my net worth. I trade options all the time. My YouTube channel is based on it. And the people that are new to my channel think that that's my primary focus. But the people that have been around for a couple of years and know me know that this is money that is literally money I could take to Vegas and drop on a blackjack table.
Let me say this, Brad. Hang on. Let me say this. I would say that me and you, I think I can speak for you as well on this. If our Roth IRAs were not maxed out investing in index funds, we probably wouldn't be touching our taxable accounts.
No, yeah. I made a video about why I don't have a brokerage account. I will not put any money into individual stocks until my Roth IRA is paid, until my 403B is paid, which is the equivalent of a 401k. And then I have another tax deferred account, the 457. Right now, inside my YouTube channel and inside my Discord and Patreon, people are like, Brad, you haven't bought a stock the whole year yet. And I'm like, that's because I'm not going to buy a stock until May, because I'm taking $0 paychecks while I'm maxing out my 403B, my 457, and my Roth. And after my retirement foundation, then we'll go to YouTube. Then we'll start making and buying options and selling options and things like that. And it was unfortunate for me because my channel started growing and doing really, really well in December before, like at the end of the year when I had some money to spend. But now I'm back to reality. Now I'm back to, hey, YouTube aside, I have a foundation to build. That foundation is my retirement accounts, my Roth IRAs, my 401ks, my 403Bs. And that's going to be boring, non-sexy. You don't tell your buddy about it. You don't talk about it at the water cooler. Chicks don't think it's sexy. But you want to know what? At the end of the day, I'm set. Then when I get to May and all of that stuff is maxed out, then we'll YOLO. Then we'll start putting some money in the AMC, GameStop, weed stocks. Yeah. That's when we'll start buying Bitcoin again, things like that.
But what I don't understand for somebody who's not in the stock market really yet, other than what I told you, like if I'm trying to invest more, why would I do a Roth IRA and max that out versus a high interest savings account or a CD? Like, because what more are you definitely getting more return?
So yes. Well, the thing that happens with money market accounts and high interest savings accounts. So right now, your high interest savings account right now is under 1%. A couple years back when Ally and Capital One and all these banks were fighting for it, it was around 2%. But those changed with the Fed because the Fed operates those interest rates. So there's a difference in that. But with the Roth IRA, and the real beauty is that tax-free growth. Okay. And those investments that you can make. Because when you put money and there's nothing to be, like JJ and I both we're heavily weighted in cash, even though it's not gaining a lot.
I'm not anymore because I just paid off my damn mortgage, but yeah, I got to build back up.
But the beauty of the Roth IRA has nothing to do with interest. It has to do with the fact that whatever gains and whatever interest happens in there is going to be tax-free when you retire at 59.5. But for me, I'm a legacy guy and I've lost both my parents. So everything I do is based around what's going to happen to my kids if I were to pass away. And one of the greatest things for me, so when my parents passed away, we talk about estate taxes and things like that, which is a whole nother rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. But with the Roth IRA at a limit of $6,000 per year, I know that I could put $6,000 in there. Even if I put in a crappy investment versus the best, it's still going to grow. And if I expire one day, my kids are going to get that money and that money is going to be tax-free to them and they can put in their own Roth IRA and it will continue to grow. And that's where we see generational and legacy wealth start to build.
I want to add to that. So another reason, John, to answer your question about why would you want to put in a Roth versus a money market or, a CD or whatever. So the average return in the stock market over 50 plus years is 6 to 8%. Okay. This last year, I think VTSAX did like 18 to 21%, something like that. So let's say to Brad's example, talking about your money market account, that's right now probably what 0.5%, if that. So, would you rather have, 100K making 0.5% in a money market account that you have to pay taxes on, from the interest you earn from that money market account? Or do you want it in your Roth IRA, which is going to give you an average of 6 to 8% over the long term, but over the past couple of years has been like 17 to 21%. That's why you want to put that in the Roth IRA.
For sure. So I got maybe a dumb question for you, but
There's no dumb questions.
No such thing. No.
Give him a chance. Give him a chance.
True. All right. So I'm 1099. All my income is 1099, right? So can I put money into a place to not pay taxes on that year's income?
You'd have to look into expenses. If you got, I don't,
'Cause I'm not sure exactly how that
So,
works. Like I'm
as
under
a-
the assumption
So
that
as a 1099 employee, and I have a couple of 1099s myself. So you probably have a corporation or some sort of LLC that 1099 is paying, right? Are they paying John directly?
they're paying John.
Okay. So John might want to start thinking about so you're probably a sole proprietor right now. So
Yeah,
somebody
I don't want to pay taxes on all my income. Could I put some of that income into a fund or someplace to not pay tax on it
Yes. So
right now?
so JJ right now is self-employed. There are tax deferred retirement accounts that you can start investing money in that will help defer some of those taxes. JJ, so we talking SEPs, buddy? What are we talking about?
Yeah. So I have a SEP IRA. So what that means is whenever it's almost like a Roth IRA, except it grows your money, but you have to pay taxes when you pull it out.
So
Okay.
it's tax deferred. Yes, tax
It's
deferred.
the main difference. So to be able to open a SEP IRA though, you have to have 1099 or be self-employed or whatever that is. So the cool thing about that is let's say I make a certain amount of money per month, and I want to put 10% of that into my SEP. There is a max on a SEP. It's like $57,000 per year or something like that. But up to that $57,000, that's let's say I put $57,000 in it this year, right? And let's say I make 150 or whatever. Then that's $57,000 that I do not have to report as income for 2020 or 2021 or whatever you're doing.
But
So
you're going to
that's
pay tax on it eventually. So
on
like,
it later.
what's the lesser evil? Paying income tax on it now and
In
putting
retirement, you make less money.
Yeah. So when you're retired, so like right now, the money I'm making, there's no way I'm making this money whenever I'm 65, 70, unless I land some big ass investment that just paid
Average
me.
Money Podcast. Average
Yeah,
Money
right.
Right.
Right. But like, let's be real here. Like, let's assume Lindsay and JJ are going to settle down or may buy like a vacation home or something to go out to be snowbirds or whatever. But we may be in like the 15% tax bracket when we're retired because we don't need any money to live off of. Everything's paid off. We don't need the money.
Yeah.
To where right now I'm making a very much larger amount of income I'm in the, a large tax bracket so where now it's like, okay, I can take that money, throw it in the account, wait till I'm at that retirement age where I'm only paying 15% of my taxes versus now where I'm paying, 30% plus, 40% plus of my taxes.
Yeah.
So
look into a SEP IRA, John.
Yeah.
I got you. So my buddy Evan here, he's the one that brewed us that bourbon barrel aged stout. He's a business owner. He has his own business, but I'm guessing by this comment, maybe he's not really investing or doing anything to set himself up for the future. Maybe. What would you guys recommend as far as somebody that maybe can spend those couple extra $100 a month or something like that to put towards something? If maybe that's all you have to start with, or what would you recommend?
I just wrote mine down, but I want to hear Brad's answer. I'll tell you.
So everyone starts at zero. So don't ever be ashamed about how much you have or anything.
Yeah.
It's not sexy and it's not cool, but the best place to invest in yourself, and sometimes paying off debt is that best investment in yourself. So I'll get those cliche things out of the way. If you have a HELOC, if you have high interest card, everything but the mortgage, most people can get around, but even car payments, like it's just a peace of mind thing. Even at a low interest, just stop owing people money. Start paying yourself. Making your money work for you is exponentially amazing, and it feels good when you get into your truck and you own that truck outright. There's just something to be said for that. Outside of that, cliches aside, if you have a couple bucks, max the Roth IRA first. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Index fund, max the Roth IRA first, and if there's something that's too confusing, and you're like, I don't want to do index funds. I'm steadfast on investing in stocks. Like, Brad, don't fucking tell me about index funds. I don't want to do the research. Look around you at the companies that you use on a regular basis and invest in them, especially if you believe in them. If you look at my stock portfolio, I guarantee that 85% of them, right off the bat. There might be some companies in there that you never heard of, but if I explain to you what they do, like nobody knows, not many people know what Duke Energy is, but they're my favorite utility and I'm a huge holder in them. But if I explain to you what a utility company is and I explain to you like your local utility and what they do for your electric and heat, you're like, okay, I understand that fucking business. But everything, 85%, maybe 90 is the stuff that you hear every day. Disney, Visa, Pepsi, Amazon, like Home Depot. You get into these companies, if you look around you, there's a reason that they're all over your house. Kimberly Clark, I have 2 kids. Every single diaper you're putting on your kid was made by Kimberly Clark. I said, fuck, how am I not going to invest in Kimberly Clark? I'm paying all this money for Kimberly Clark. Like,
Go ahead, John. I have something to add to that, but I want you to go ahead.
No, I have questions about utilities, and I want to dig into utilities and energy, but you go ahead.
So first and foremost, I want to say, like Brad mentioned, like paying off debt, and I agree with him 100%. But I also think it's really important that you probably should be investing a little amount while paying off debt. Like if you have a company match, I think a company match, you have to do the company match because that's free money you're leaving on the table.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like that up to that is the amount that I would invest to and then put everything else towards the debt. And if you don't have a company match, I would still put like 6% in or something like that, just because you want to take advantage of the compound interest. But to piggyback off what Brad was saying is if you're wanting to buy the dividend stocks, the utility stocks, whatever, there's some very important things you want to look at. You want to look at, the balance sheet of a company. And that comes with time. You can't just like magically go look at a balance sheet and be like, okay, well, I know what I'm looking at here. Like it takes time. It does. And I still am learning stuff when I'm looking at balance sheets or whatever. But this comes back to like how much time are you really willing to put into investing? Like if you want to take the time to look into metrics and see what a payout ratio of a dividend company is, payout ratio being the percentage of the earnings that the company makes that they're going to pay out in dividends. If it's above that 60% mark, you need to look into that a little bit and see why. Like Pepsi, for example, I'm a big owner in Pepsi, but they have a high payout ratio, but they also have a pretty healthy balance sheet, and they're a growing brand that's growing and consecutively growing that revenue every year and earnings as well, to where I know that that's going to be safe enough to what makes up for this maybe a little bit of higher of a payout ratio, to where over time it's going to equal out to be under that 60% mark. But there's little things you want to look at. But that goes back to say, like, how much time do I want to put into stocks and how much time do I want to put in, just putting it in and forgetting about it.
I feel like we could talk for like 12 hours.
Yeah, I think so too.
One of the things I was going to ask you about is like, I've seen videos where I think it was you, but like you put out 5, like here's 5 stocks that pay out dividends and here's why, and here's whatever. Like there's a lot of stuff that if you're willing to take the time, you can dig into to figure out whatever these metrics are that help you decide whether or not it's something worth investing in, how much of whatever you're willing to invest into certain stocks to get the return that you want to make this much a month or whatever it is. But I mean, there's plenty of content out there. I mean, it's completely blown my mind how much stuff is out there that is consumable that you can learn about easily. I think that's what you guys do a great job about. Like I'm a lot of things go over my head and I only have so much mental capacity, but you guys do a good job breaking it down. And I appreciate that you guys use real numbers. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, this is what you invest. This is what it returns. This is how much of the stock you buy. This is how much money's coming out of your pocket. And this is what you can expect to get back. And why you chose those stocks. I mean, there's so many things when you dig into that company in particular, that stock in particular, why, it's got forecasted growth, why it pays what it does. It may pay more dividend, even if there's not as much growth as you would think, or as much increase in the stock itself, the value. So I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that people can learn and start making money.
But John, at the end of the day, you can dive as deep into anything as you want, but sometimes you get to a point where it doesn't matter how deep you go. It doesn't matter. Like take, for example, like making a apple pie. There's certain ingredients that go into making an apple pie. Now you can make an apple pie just on like crust, apples, some cinnamon, and we put a top on it. It's going to be an apple pie. Or you can open books and call Ramsey, and you can make the most gourmet apple pie that you could ever think of. At the end of the day, you still have apple pie. And I think that investing in stocks, there's this intimidation that we have to make the perfect apple pie. You can start with the general basics of things and create a product that's good enough for you, and nothing's set in stone. The things and the decisions that people make with money aren't the same ones that they're going to make in a year. But that doesn't mean we should stop and not start, and that's the same. And I said apple pie is cliche and stupid, but my point being, they don't have apples in Missouri, but
It's dry. It's dry.
But the point that I'm trying to make is like, it's supposed to be confusing. Why? Because the people that have been making money off of us for so many years, actively managing our money and being financial advisors, and I'm not knocking financial advisors because there's some great ones out there, but we were taught and raised to believe that money was complicated, investing was even more complicated, and the stock market is something that you shouldn't even talk about unless you're in a proper room with a proper cigar and a proper whiskey. But it turns out, shit, if I have some money on the table, I can put it in here and I can make my own decisions, and I can make an apple pie that's not ready for, it's not $1,000 apple pie, but it's a $25 apple pie, and damn, it tastes good.
No, I get it. I mean, it's crazy to think about just what the possibilities are, and that there's this whole new world to me that is a potential way for me to, help my family, and kind of set what I want my future to be, how I want to be. I could get that new truck, I could get the boat, I could do those things, but at the same time, being in more debt and whatever. I mean, being able to retire early, to me, may be a higher goal. You just got to set those goals for yourself and figure out what you want to do and how you want to allocate those funds. Because, shit, I mean, I could probably spend money better than most people, and have that shit go right out the door. But I mean, there's just so many opportunities that you could invest things and just end up, being ahead instead of behind or owing more. It's just crazy. Like, it's this whole new world that
I'll say this. If I could give like a real quick spiel, throw down of what I would recommend to anybody. And again, this is not financial advice, but like a basic overview of everything, it would probably be pay off your consumer debt, student loans, credit cards, car payments, whatever. Get that shit gone. Get rid of it.
Student loan forgiveness. Your thoughts?
Oh, don't
even get me started.
I saw all those posts. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. Brad's already ripping bongs. We don't want to even bring up politics now. But
oh my God.
Yeah.
He say forgiveness? Did he say forgiveness?
Oh man. Yeah.
Continue, JJ.
Yeah, I want $50K to pay off my mortgage. I'll just say that.
But punch you in the face for forgiveness.
Anyways, yeah. So pay off your debts, get everything covered besides the mortgage. Don't worry about the mortgage. Once those debts are paid off, make sure you're investing your, match or a minimum amount while you're paying off those debts. Once those debts are paid off, here's a big thing that changed my mind. Live on a savings rate that's exponentially freaking high as hell, right? Like, for example, my wife and I, while we were paying off our mortgage, we had a savings rate of like 60%, 50 to 60%. Every single dollar we were coming in, we were saving 50 cents to 60 cents on that dollar, going into savings, paying off debt, investing, whatever it was, because we live a pretty simple lifestyle. We bought a home we can, pay off in 3 years, was a home we could afford. We still drive our old cars. We don't buy clothes every 5 minutes. We don't, probably the biggest thing we spend money on is going out to eat. We do love going out to eat. But when you get that lifestyle like creep, like every single year, you got to buy something better and better and higher and newer and newer. If you get that under control and just be like, understand, like the material things really don't make you that happy. No. It's the experiences. It's their memories. Yeah. It's everything you remember that makes you happy. When you understand that, then you're like, okay, this is going to make it so much easier to say no to that brand new truck that I want. I want a brand new truck. Don't get me wrong. But I know with me saving that, 30, or let's say drive it off the lot and I'm instantly down 10 grand in the truck.
Yeah.
That's $10,000 I could be putting in the market, or, 40 or whatever the freaking truck goes for right now. That's going to better yourself financially down the road and give you more time.
I'm telling you, we got to talk utilities, but like this whole thing has changed my mind because like my wife and I have talked about like redoing the kitchen and stuff like that. And I'm looking around like the fucking doors open and close. Who fucking cares? Who am I trying to impress?
Yes.
Let's save that money.
But if you put that money into the house, do you get that on the resale?
Maybe. I guess I don't know. That's a whole nother thing.
Because we've been fighting that year of doing our floors over.
Yeah,
gotta sell your house to get the money out.
Yeah,
true.
Or do a HELOC.
I did the floors. A couple years ago, and it was too new. I just bought. I didn't even have a HELOC, so I just had to do it. But I mean, I don't know, whatever. But
I want to be said though about happy wife, happy life.
True.
I'm redoing my kitchen right now. I hate it, but I'll be in a good graces with my wife for 30. I'm literally investing in my kitchen so that I don't have to hear my wife talk about how she hates my kitchen for 20 years. So that's a 20-year long. That's a strong and that's a great ROI. I spend 20 grand. I fix my kitchen up, and that's 20 years. It's $1,000 per year that I don't have to hear my wife complain about the kitchen.
Yeah,
worth it.
Well done.
And to her credit, it's a pretty outdated kitchen.
I still have sound effects myself. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I want to talk utilities quick, all right? Because utilities to me is something that's in my realm. It's the industry that I'm in. I'm in the oil and gas industry, okay? So to me, I think in like the utility companies are in a weird spot right now. A lot of things are going EV. A lot of things are going electric. You're a lot of solar, fossil fuels, even electricity itself is potentially going to go down. So how strong of a stock is that? However, right now, a majority of households are getting electricity from a utility company. More and more are getting natural gas and things like that from utility company versus heating oil, propane, things like that. So it's strong at the moment. I'm not sure about the future of it. I'd like to hear your takes on that, but I also have questions on how to buy like oil futures and things like that, because that's something else I'm really interested in. And I don't know how to do it.
I don't do that. I don't buy any like futures or anything like that.
Here's the difference why I want to is because I'm from the industry and I've purchased options and futures off of people before. And if I have the ability to buy it myself, I'd much rather approach people that I know and maybe sell them these calls and things like that at maybe a lower premium than they're used to, and then make some money off of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. So first on utilities, my thing on that is like, I look at it, I don't see utilities going anywhere, even in the future, because so when you park your Tesla or your EV vehicle in your garage, you got to plug it up to your, your electric. It's either coming from a solar farm that your utility company owns, or it's coming from your pole, your electric pole that your utility company owns.
What if you have solar on your roof and a Tesla battery in your wall? I mean, yeah, exactly.
No,
that's the future that I imagine, where it's like, all right, I can get a very efficient heat pump heating system for my house that uses no fossil fuels, and I've got
but you have to pay for that
backup battery.
You have to pay for that.
Yeah, but I mean,
so how many years are we talking before that breaks even on the current utilities?
Yeah,
because I have solar on my house.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I leased it. I didn't buy it.
Yeah,
because the lease saved me 50% on my utilities,
yep.
But the buy was going to take me 22 years to pay off.
Yeah.
So I think although you're correct, I don't think we're ready to like go full in.
I agree. I'm just curious to
But utilities have their place in the market. They're great dividend stocks. Like I said, Duke Energy in the Southeast is they're the gold standard for utilities. They pay an amazing dividend. They're not going anywhere. People are trying to buy them up all over the place. If anything, they're just going to continue to grow. But the utilities are the bonds of the stock market that aren't bonds. So they're the bonds of stocks. I invest in Duke Energy knowing that they're going to trade flat. Their dividends are going to continue to rise. They don't. One thing people don't realize about utilities, they don't make money off of us. They make money off of governments, and they make money off of their infrastructure and building infrastructures. So if you have Duke Energy, who is going to continue to grow their infrastructure, that's how they make money. Not from us. The prices that we pay for electric and heat, that's set by the government. It's all set. We're a wash for utility companies. They only make money on their infrastructure and growth.
Interesting.
So yeah, so like when right now I have PSEG up here, they're my electric company.
Mhm.
When they charge me, they didn't set that rate. They don't set the rates.
Sure.
Utilities do not set rates. The government does. So the government says, hey, because that's how we avoid monopolies, because these utility companies are covering such large areas. So for them to set rates, that'd be a monopoly. So they set these rates, and then the government says, okay, you're a monopoly. You can't vary rates, but you can make money on the growth of your infrastructure, and you can make money on your expansion. That's how utilities grow, which is why there's so many conglomerates around it, and that there's contracts, because a company will come in as a utility and say, hey, I can grow this market. Right now we have 50% of people getting gas, 50% of people using oil. I can bring natural gas to those other 50%. And then those people that live there say, hey, I'm sick of using a fucking electric stove because that's savagery.
Yeah.
I want a gas stove. So now they vote for this new company that comes in.
Yeah.
Now that new company pays them for the gas. They expand the infrastructure, but the company made money off of the growth of the infrastructure, not off the price per dollar per BTU that they charge the customer for the gas. This is, guys, I'm not going to lie. Almost 3 hours in, I got to go to bed.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I'm feeling the same way. I don't know. You guys have been fantastic guests. I feel like we could just easily talk.
Guys,
hours.
drink beer, talk money, man. That's what we do. This is our podcast is built around 8-hour long conversations that just get cut into 8 episodes.
Yeah, we don't even cut anything. Like we usually just go, and it is what it is. But yeah. We've gone too long.
Well, that's what Taylor's editing right now. He has some sort of standard.
He takes an hour out of it and puts it out on podcast platforms.
Yeah.
So,
good for
but
you.
I don't know. There's so much more to do. I would love to have you guys on
Part two.
in another whatever. We'll be happy to come on one of your guys' things. I can't thank you guys enough, man. I just think it's been a blast. We could still talk another hour about Dubco, and we could talk another 2 hours on stocks. I have a whole list of shit that I wrote down over the past couple of days that we didn't even get to.
We'll get there, buddy.
So
Yeah.
there's so much stuff to do.
Yeah.
Mr. Steve, how was that double nugget?
I really love the double nugget. It's so good.
It's somehow better than the regular nugget.
And I love regular
fantastic.
nuggets.
I'm still on high live.
Do
All right, real quick, Brad, let me tell you.
Champagne of beers.
I just have to explain this brewing system to you. I want to get your take on it.
I got to bounce, guys.
All right, JJ.
See you
Take it
guys.
easy, JJ.
Thanks,
Thanks,
man. It's a company called Beer Maker, BEERMKR. All right, so you should look it up. But it's a countertop. Imagine like a Keurig type brewing system is what it is. So I know you're. I get it. All right. I've never home brewed myself. I've only been helping friends with brew days. This system is all grain. Okay. And what's interesting is when you mash, you put your grain in, you put your water in, it doesn't.
You make a big tea bag.
Yeah. Well, so what's interesting is that it doesn't boil. When you put everything in and tell the system that you've put everything in and it's on, it takes 24 hours before you can dry hop or before you can hop in yeast.
Why don't you just do 5-gallon batches?
This is a 1 gallon batch.
Because
Yeah,
Brad, the advantage is You dump it in, and you're done.
Yeah, I literally.
The best part about brewing is brewing.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, but for
I don't
me,
disagree
not
with that.
having any experience and
Dude,
being of that world,
make 5-gallon fucking Northern Brewer kits in a 5-gallon plastic bucket in your fucking kitchen, and it'd be the best day of your life.
I hear you. I've had a lot of fun drinking beers, dumping hops into boiling water and stirring it with something.
Don't even stir. Don't even stir.
And it
Don't
starts
even
to
stir.
melt.
You got to stir. Come on.
Don't even.
Yeah.
No, don't stir.
You got to stir.
It brings in oxygen.
Got to bring in the wort chiller.
Yeah, exactly.
Very important. Wort chill is important.
So what's interesting about this thing is that you literally like dump your grains in the top, you dump your water in, it has a heat exchanger inside. So it brings it up to like 165 over 24 hours and then starts to bring it down. And then you get an app notification. So all of it's happening inside the machine that's temperature controlled. And it says, all right, now pitch your yeast, add your hops. So you open the lid, you dump your shit in, you close the lid, sanitize whatever you can,
Like that.
dump it in. And then it went
You don't
another
have to
4
sanitize
days.
it. You don't have to sanitize anything that goes in pre-boil.
Yeah, exactly. But after it's boiled or got to 165 and came back down, now it's at now. So it's gotten up that high, and then it came back down to whatever temperature, in the 60s. And it's like, all right, pitch your yeast and add your hops. So I did that. And they say to be very careful. I sanitized everything, scissors, whatever, dumped everything in, closed it back up, right?
Oxygen is worse than
I just dried up yesterday.
Oxygen is the worst thing. So
yeah, so I opened.
Don't worry about bacteria and contamination. Oxygen is your worst friend.
So I opened the system up, dump my hops in, and close the system up, and it's going again. But it's controlling temperatures the whole time. It just gives me an app notification of when to do what, and by like Tuesday next week,
it controls temperature.
Yeah,
all right.
It controls temperature the whole time. So like right now, if I were to check it, I think it's just resting. I did hear the fans go on. Doge is going down. That was the app that I had open.
I thought you guys were investing in Dodge, like cars. I don't know.
I didn't even get into that Dogecoin. I have Bitcoin. I have so much Bitcoin. It's fucking.
I'm at
right.
75 degrees.
That's warm.
IPA.
What is it?
It's called a Redwood IPA, which is just one of their recipes. They send out a kit.
Can you change that?
Yeah.
Make it 69, please. No, I'm serious. Make it under 70.
I don't know if I can change that part of it. It's part of the predetermined recipe of where the temperature should be.
I hate that recipe. Can you make it 69 degrees, please?
For the first one, we got to let it go.
Yeah.
The first one, we got to let it go with what they're giving us.
Facts. I can get with that.
It comes with all these recipe kits and everything's pre-portioned your grain, but because it's all grain, you can completely customize the recipe. I can put in whatever hops I want, whatever grain I want, and customize it.
You've heard of Northern Brewer, yeah? You know Northern Brewer?
Yeah.
Dude,
after the first one, we're tuning the knobs.
Dude, I would say that when I opened my brewery with Chris, I would say of the first 20 beers we made, 17 of them were Northern Brewer kits that we just changed a little bit, and we tweaked those knobs.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's because, and I'm not even against extract brewing. Like people think they need to jump to whole grain.
Extract is fine.
I'm not against extract brewing. So when when you taste a beer and you're like, this is a home brew, like it's a home brew, has nothing to do with the ingredients, has to do with oxygen and temperature control.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So, and when we opened the brewery, people bring us beers and we loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardest part, the difference between commercial brewing and home brewing is the ability to eliminate oxygen and the ability to maintain temperature at a constant rate. Because when you homebrew, they tell you, you have to let primary fermentation, then you have to rack into secondary, and all this time you're introducing oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
If I could go back, I would put it in the 5-gallon bucket and I would leave it for a month not even a month. I mean, right now we're turning over beers in 7 days because when you understand the fermentation process,
Yeah.
so you have that first major bubble and then the bubbles come down. Now during that major, after that first major bubbling, what happens is the yeast is going around now looking for that secondary source of food, which is oxygen. So they eat all of that oxygen, but it doesn't bubble because they're not really putting out any CO2. But what that does is clean the beer and that gets rid of diacetyl, which is that buttery like popcorn flavor.
Yeah.
So you need to have that diacetyl rest because what happens after primary fermentation is all the yeast goes in. The ABV has been set at this point. So now the yeast is going around and they're doing all this work, but people don't see bubbles. They're like, oh, fermentation's done. But you have to let that bubble. Boom. 3 days after that, now we crash it down as cold as you can get it. Right now, you're in winter. You put that shit back on the back deck in a 5-gallon bucket. It crashes. All the yeast goes dormant. Boom. You can have that beer in 3 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm really curious to find out more. We're going to interview these guys on the show soon, but like,
good. That's warm.
There's sensors in there.
That's just like, what was it? Did they give you liquid yeast? Did they give you dry yeast? What yeast did they give you?
Dry yeast.
Did you hydrate it first or no?
No, I just dumped it right into liquid.
It seems just warm for me. It's just 75.
Well, it's been below 60, and now it's at a quote unquote rest period where it's just holding somewhere in the 70s. But the whole primary fermentation was like much lower than this.
That 70s that's where that like floral esters and like weird aromas are going to come out once you go above 70.
It came up to 75 after it told me it was safe to dry hop and to do dry hopping, and then it's been at this higher temperature. Okay. But again, if
you taste it and it has that like florally soapy flavor, well, I'm saying if you taste it and it does have like a little bit of flory, like it's very aromatic. It smells like perfume. It doesn't taste like perfume.
Yeah,
it smells like perfume. Yeah. But it has like this soapy kind of oily flavor that's above 70.
Yeah.
There's no reason to go above 70 ever.
I'd love to. That's things I want to learn because I can set all those things for future recipes myself.
Even what was it? SF05, which is like the dry IPA dry yeast.
Mm-hmm.
Like 70 is the enemy. I say 69 only because 69 is fun to say, but it's nice. 1 degree. It's 1 degree below 70.
Yeah,
like,
I pitched yeast.
I'm never gonna ferment above 70 ever, unless I'm doing a Belgian. Because when you make a Belgian, like my Belgian doubles, I ferment at 72 to 75 because in a Belgian you want that candy type of like weird. It doesn't smell like candy, but it smells like something. But I know what it smells like, and
banana-y.
it has banana. Yeah, that's that 70 plus that you're gonna get. So like, if all of your flavor, if your beer tastes like a Belgian, it was because you went over 70 degrees during fermentation. Now, if fermentation is over right now and you are resting, okay, maybe we can get away with that. But for me, when I get to the end of primary fermentation, I'm going to hold at 69. And then after I think the diacetyl rest is gone, which is going to be 2 days tops, I'm going to put that shit on the back deck. I'm going to crash that shit down as cold as I can get it, damn near freezing. And then I'm going to pull everything off I can into bottles. And I'm going to use that little sludge at the bottom of the bucket. I'm going to wash off about a half of that, and I'm going to use it again. And I'm never going to pay for yeast ever again. Chris and I haven't paid for yeast since, yeah, exactly. Chris and I haven't paid for yeast since fucking 2005.
That's wild. So this is the inside of the system. I'm just going to show it to you real quick.
It's sick. Look at
this. This whole brew tub up at the top is where your grains go in, but it's in a basket. So you fill it up with water, and it goes down into this brew bag. And then this bottom bag is a waste bag. So all of the liquid is going down into here, but there's still liquid in the top. But these valves kind of leave the brew bag kind of shut off or separate.
And that's it's 1 gallon?
It's 1 gallon.
See, it seems like so much work to have 1 gallon of beer.
Yeah, maybe. But to me, it's like, okay, I spent 10 minutes and then I push a button and I walk away. And then I come back and I spend another 10 minutes and I push a button and I walk away.
You'd rather 5 hours and have a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know. We're gonna see. To me, this is my first dive into it. Like, they were nice enough to send it
Yeah.
to me. So, like, I'm gonna try it out. This is my first beer. It looks fantastic. There's all kinds of activity. Like I said,
I'm not saying it's gonna taste like shit. I'm just saying like
I'm curious to see what happens. It's got a brew tap, so you take this brew bag out and you put it into a tap system that
I've
hooks up
heard.
to these
Okay,
big valves.
yeah, I have heard of this.
Yeah, this is really neat. So I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. I'm excited about it.
Good stuff, guys. Let me get out of here.
Yeah, let's
It's,
wrap this up, dude. Thank you so much, man. You guys were fantastic guests. It's one of those things I feel like we were just bullshitting and not really even having a podcast.
It's the best
Sometimes the best kind.
That's the best day.
So anyway,
And,
thanks, man.
We'll follow up, man.
Yeah, let's stay in touch.
Take it easy, guys.
Have
And
a good night, brother.
I'll
Thanks
get in
for
touch with you
everything.
via email. I'm gonna send you guys a little care package.
I'll
send
get you an
some-
address.
All right, sounds good, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Take it
See ya.
easy.
Have a good night. Mr. Steve, what do you think?
I think it was a good time.
I feel like we talked about everything and nothing at the same time.
I definitely could have gotten into like more specific stuff,
Yeah, we just glazed over everything.
Yeah.
So,
but
we
there's
gotta
so
dig
much.
deeper.
There's so much that you could talk about in that subject matter.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, man, it's 11. Let's wrap it up. Everybody
wrap
that's
it up.
watching still, we appreciate you, especially Fish. Evan, that beer. I'm not. I need to make sure that I didn't like glaze over that either. That is probably one of the best stouts I've had. That is a fantastic, well executed stout.
Excellent work, Evan.
That was really well done. I can't believe. There goes the mic. I can't believe the mouthfeel and the carb and everything that came off of that thing. It just had such a good such good flavor.
Gonna glaze over you, Fish.
All right, let's
What's
wrap
the
it up.
Sixers score, Fish? Give me a Sixers score.
Yeah, what's the Sixers doing? All right, Stocks. Hopefully somebody learned something. I was hoping to get a little more lesson out of it, but I don't know. We'll have fun. We'll do it again.
Should we plug our next couple episodes here?
Yeah, so in 2 weeks, we're going to have Lehigh Valley Beer Week. So that includes for sure some of the guys from McCall Brewing, Collective Brewing up in Allentown, and a couple more people. So we're going to help them plug that. Supposedly, we've got some beers coming our way. After that, we've got Locust Lane and FAM, hopefully. They are going to be doing a collab early March. So we'll be talking to them about that collab and tasting that beer and doing that. And then hopefully the week or 2 weeks after that, we will be talking with Brewmaker, our beer maker, about their beer machine that they sent us. So by then, I hope that we have a couple beers under our belt. I don't know. Should I go into stout next, do you think? Or should we do the future IPA and try to get something hazy and hoppy again?
I definitely think we go something other than IPA.
Yeah.
Especially if we got the IPA going. I definitely think stout would be a good.
So I ordered more kits. So I have a Kolsch kit. I have future IPA, which is the hazy, and I've got the chubby stout. So I think we could try any one of those.
Anything chubby.
Yeah, it sounds good. Beer should be ready on like at least out of this system on maybe Tuesday or Wednesday.
Cool.
So hopefully we can do the next beer. So we'll see how it goes.
Dig it.
Down 8, 5 minutes before the half. All right, guys. Have a good night, Mr. Steve. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Talk to you next time.
Dig it.